What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 35 of The Pylon Show. I am half of your regular team in control here as your host. Artosis, as some of you may have heard, is off hosting alongside Rotterdam a pretty cool thing. It's DeepMind taking on some Starcraft. It's the beginning of the robot revolution. Skynet is here. We'll be talking about all year, but more on that later. First, I want to introduce our guests. A couple of these people you recognize as regulars on The Pylon Show. One skipped out on us for the Christmas celebration. She was with her mom traveling abroad instead of hanging out online with a bunch of boys, drinking alcohol and getting into probably too much trouble. And I don't want to say I'm judging her for it, but there's a little bit of me that's a little bit judgy. And I think that's fair because, of course, we are talking about Zombie Grub. Hello. Welcome to season 2 of The Pylon Show. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for that awesome introduction.
You know, that's what I can do. I can ramble on until I almost get into trouble and then I back off just after getting into trouble. Thank you for coming on, though. Really appreciate you. We talked a lot about you in the previous episodes. Your honesty is always welcome, and I'm excited to have you on here for some real topics. We're going to get into... There's been a lot happening. Last week, we did a house cleaning episode, so we've got a couple weeks of stuff to talk about, which is great. And moving on, though, we've got another really strongly opinionated guest that's been on here a number of times as well. First time this season, though, it's Mr. Fear Dragon. Ravi himself, by the way. I'm gonna say this. Every time I call him Ravi, someone's like, did he just call him Ravi? Yes, white people. Listen, his name is actually Ravi, even though his country, his culture failed him by spelling his name with the R-A-V-I. It is actually pronounced Ravi. He is corrected.
That's not fair, Jeff, because you can't just call out the white people. There are plenty of Asians that get this wrong, too.
But the white people are the only ones I can call out without being called a racist. So that's
having a name that is like it should be spelt one way, but it's spelt some weird other way. Like
I can't.
Like maybe
I can't do it. No, my name's super phonetic, so it's my entire life. Everyone's nailed it. Yeah. They know Jeff when they see one. But if you can't tell, Ravi is in my bedroom. So a lot of change has happened in the Starcraft scene. And one of them is that Fear Dragon's fallen on harder times than usual, so I've allowed him to move into my room that will never move. Mm-hmm. And it is almost like it's a background.
Yeah, almost like it. And that's actually why you're in a different place as well, Jeff.
Yeah, I'll talk about that in a second, though. And actually, our producer's here live, and it's a bunch of fun stuff. Before we get there, we have a new guest on The Pylon Show, and it's been a long time coming. We have our very own Mr. Indie Starcraft staying up. What time is it where you're at?
Oh, almost 3 a.m. 12 minutes.
Son of a bitch. This guy's got passion and dedication. Indy, thank you so much for coming on. If you could talk a little bit about yourself. I know you're a streamer. Where do you come from? What have you done? Introduce yourself to some of these people.
I'm Indy. Currently, I'm just a streamer most of the time, obviously, because we all are streamers most of the time. But right. Obviously, when there's WCS, I'm casting it. When I get invited to like BlizzCon, I'm observer.
Yeah.
I do tutorials for Polish community. Unfortunately, I don't make English content. I think I made like one video that had like 20,000 views over the years. So that's great, but pretty much it was a rip-off of Day9 video.
Yeah.
Roll, did you watch it or what?
I think so.
Yeah, so I'm just streaming every day and doing little challenges. From time to time, I like to compete, but only in the Polish little scene where the semi-pros are playing. So yeah, I'm streaming every day, but the Polish content. And
Indy's on his way actually this coming weekend to Italy to compete in the top 4 of the Casters tournament.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
After you beat my ass?
This Saturday. Yeah, I remember beating you as well.
I'm sure you remember that very well.
And it was close against Rotterdam and Loco, surprisingly. But
yeah.
But I play every day, but there's always this argument, right? So Indy's player, he used to compete in Wings of Liberty. Like, what is he doing there? But if you check out my events that I casted, it's like over 20, the big ones like IEMs, WCS, etc. But in the Clash tournament, like 2 years before that, I didn't compete in pretty much anything. So yeah. And fun thing, Rotterdam most of the time calls me observer or a streamer or a player, but actually he played in WCS Winter. I was the one casting, like, what the fuck, Rot?
I know.
You're a player.
It turns out all that top 4 is a bunch of guys with super canned defensive responses as to why they're not technically players and they are considered casters. I like that. It's very good. Good luck against Jim Rising in the fight. No, I'm just kidding. It'll be great. We'll talk more about that later, though. I do want to ask you about your experience with that and It's going to be fun. It's this coming weekend. We'll talk about that in a little bit here. But just to give you guys another roadmap as per usual, the show is going to cover some awesome topics. I just realized I'm going to be doing This Week in Starcraft. Son of a bitch, we rely on Artosis quite a bit, don't we? I think, are the cameras frozen for you guys, or is that just me? It's just me.
Just you.
Okay, cool. Production. Oh, yeah, and, well, anyways, here's the roadmap, okay? So first of all, we got some people to thank. As always, we are sponsored by a few different things. AFKT is going to continue to support the show. They're awesome. Dan's been drinking their stuff, and honestly, we'll remain sponsored by them for as long as Dan's alive. So that could be 100 more years, or it could be that it turns out the tea is like a Benjamin Button tea or something like that, and he starts reversing in age and dies. So we'll have to wait and see. But for now, please do consume as much of it as possible. They're awesome, and thank you to them. We are also supported on Patreon. So if you're interested in checking us out and supporting the show, that's one of the best ways you can do it. You can just go on to our Patreon, and you can pledge however much you want, but everything counts, of course. I think normally this is when it'd be shown. Cobra's like, he's doing 15 things at once. So, normally this is weird. I'm on a space station, so he's actually back down on Earth, and a lot of what I'm saying just takes a long time to get there. But it is Patreon / ThePylonShow, I believe. I think you guys have heard my spiel before, so just check it out if you're interested. Otherwise, we'll get right into our topics, and I think that is ready to be shown on screen now. We're going to do This Week in Starcraft and then talk about a few things here. I'm going to do that awkward thing where I wait. Waiting. He's almost got it. Bam. Nope. Nope, he's not doing it yet. And now it's gone. And there it is. There it is. Hey! There is the topics that we're going to talk about. Did you guys watch GSL and ASL and stuff like that?
Nope.
No?
So.
Neither did I. So we will blitz through a few of these different things. But one of the topics that I do see in there, and I'll get your guys' comments, but just to kind of hit this up ahead of time, the DeepMind thing is happening tomorrow for us Americans. Actually, I think it's, well, I don't know. It's happening, inside of 24 hours. We're not going to talk too much about that. Of course, as I say, it means we're going to have a 1 hour discussion, but Artosis is there. So I think next week when he's back, presumably, I think would be the best time to really dive deep onto that. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on it too, because this is going to be a big topic all year round. This is just the beginning. I want us to remember it was January of 2019 when Skynet first took on Starcraft, and it'll be like September of 2019 when the nukes are launched. So it's kind of a fun year for us to... I was muted?
Just 2 seconds maybe.
Awesome.
Yeah, just a blip.
Well, if Matt gets way out of hand, guys, I can actually walk 10 feet back there and push him out of his chair. So that's the huge advantage of having him here. Before we get into This Week in Starcraft, as you may have noticed, I'm in a new setup right now. So that's what Matt's actually doing. That's why this is super stressful for him, is because a lot of this is being jam-packed alongside working on the new rig. There is a green screen behind me. There's a nicer microphone. There's lighting. There's all this really cool stuff. But he's been working his butt off and staying up until like 5, 6 a.m. every day to do this. So if some of the tweets are going late or the scenes are a little bit laggy, it's because Matt is doing inhuman stuff right now. We love him. We appreciate him. And hopefully, you guys can respect that as well. But anyways, let's get into the show. So This Week in Starcraft. I'm not going to be able to do this as well as Dan, but I'm going to try. Okay, this is where we really miss Artosis. Twitch Rivals Starcraft streamer showdown happened, and there were some pretty cool results. I think everybody here participated except for Indy, right? Indy, you were too good.
No. It was just for the guys that had the Warchest link, so I didn't receive it, and therefore I wasn't invited. Yeah.
Next time.
Yeah, hopefully next time.
We'll get you in there next time. This is pretty cool. There was a gigantic prize pool. This is something they did. I think the viewership hovered around 8,000 to 10,000 the entire time, which for a, kind of hastily announced, like people didn't know who was participating or what until like a day or two before, which is kind of classic. We're almost used to it at this point in time. It did really well. Some of the results were pretty shocking, though. I think Livy B took home $2,500. Not bad for her. Kicked a little bit of butt. But Ravi, Jess, what did you guys think of this? Did you guys have fun?
Did you really? Well, Fear Dragon didn't play.
Did he not?
Well, no, I didn't. I was casting.
In my mind, you did Fear Dragon, and you should have played. Yeah, you cast it. Okay, thank you, Jess. That's how we salvage. So Zombie, how was it participating? Did you have fun? What were your thoughts about it, real quick?
It was a lot of fun. I had some input on how the matches are gonna go down. So that was a good part. I could take on Rifkin, and no, it was actually really nice that they split it up because like last year it was, or last time they did, whatever. Well, everything's last year now. It was just the free for all, and while that is fun, there is like that was like the constant complaints in chat.
Yeah.
Even though I think actually generally free for alls are fun to watch, and I think the elitists were overselling how much the newbies would be confused by this, but I'm glad that they split it up as well. It's had like 1v1s and ladder.
Bears is very excited too. And Fear Dragon, you got to go down to Burbank and cast this alongside Nate and some different personalities that don't typically do StarCraft. How was that for you?
Yeah, that was really cool. I will say, like, it was weird because like people were messaging me saying like really shitty things about the hosts, and to be honest, like my experience with the hosts were like they were awesome.
Yeah.
The two hosts, by the way, because you just mentioned they're not StarCraft people. One of them was Alex Curry, who like has hosted or he's like been on like TV shows and stuff. He was joined by a Rocket League commentator named Wavepunk, and I have to say, like I had like a ton of respect for both of them because neither one of them really knew StarCraft at all. Like I think Alex Korea had some experience in like Wings of Liberty and played like a little bit, and the other guy, Wavepunk, had no idea, had never played StarCraft or anything, and he also found out that he was going to do this like Twitch rival StarCraft thing like 2-3 days before, and he just like marathoned reading up on every single one of the players and also reading up on StarCraft and learning all the units and like asked some like decent questions for someone who had like only been into the game for like a couple of days. I thought he did a great job. So I thought they were great. It was a really fun experience being over there, and I was also really happy that all the streamers, like I felt like the people who got destroyed in the FFA, like Sal or Up a Tree, like got destroyed in the FFA, but then he did really, really well in the ladder race.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone did well at something, which is cool.
I think I mean, selfishly speaking, I get to participate in it well. It's guaranteed money, which is really nice, and it's decent money too. If you won the show match, it's $700. If you did well in this or something else, it's like pretty significant money. So, and that's awesome. And the viewership for them was good too. I think what's kind of funny, because I actually know the people behind the business of this at Twitch, and I was like, how was it for you guys on your end? And they were pretty happy with it too. I mean, League of Legends had like 20,000 viewers on their Twitch rivals, but for us to have around 10 or a little bit more is pretty darn good, I thought. And like I said, everyone that participated had fun. The system was cool too because it was a bunch of streams. It was a big stream day for them. Anyways, we don't want to spend too much time on this, but I thought it was very cool. I think it's a shout out to Twitch for doing that. I love the studio, by the way. I thought the production value of that studio was really sick. And it is a silly competition, and they covered it pretty darn well, I thought. And some people are going to get paid. So thank you to them. And shout out to Indy, who next year is going to win this damn thing, which is going to be awesome.
I don't think so.
And we do hear you guys, their mics are a little bit quiet. We'll see if Cobra can fix it as we go. But again, he's managing this and doing all this stuff at the same time. So we'll do the best we can. If you have to lean in real carefully and listen super hard, just do that. OSC Championship 6 finals did happen. The Season 6 finals took place from January 3rd to 13th. And there are the results. We had Solar winning out in the end against Gumio, as far as I can tell here. But Guru with some results there, actually just placing up there. That's pretty cool. And there's Raynor once again making his name known.
Yeah, Guru is this one player that has unique style. I know him a little bit. Unfortunately, now he's not like the beloved Guru to me, obviously. But that's because he stream cheated even against me. And it's fun
really?
thing. Yeah, there's the clip where I'm going into the game, there's loading screen, and then like 5 seconds into the game, I see on my chat, Twitch used to show you that your friend, blah, 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 Guru, just joined the chat. 5 seconds into the game. I copy this thing, the game. He's like, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
And at the end of the game, he said something like it was obvious that he was like, suspicious. And now I think he's trying to prolong his banishment.
Yeah. He's a weird character, man. He's very, very good, but he's just straight up like the Muslim video is very famous. He was just nasty to him, and it cost him a lot.
Yeah, but when you look at the tournament like this, he's 2-3 against Solar. Right?
Yeah.
He's a really good player nonetheless, even though he's using all army hotkey all the time. But he's still really good. Like if he cut off his BS, then it would be like, I think, decent career for him.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he does, because it's weird seeing someone that's actually good enough to make pretty significant money in StarCraft hurt themselves by just being a douchebag. That's just kind of a weird angle to take. But that's the OSC Championship. Congrats to Solar, and Solar looking good as well. One of my favorite players, always goes to Home Story Cup and is just a great personality, and Gumiho there as well. Next up, we have the Banshee Tournament. And actually, we have no one better to talk about this than our very own Zombie Grub, the creator of the Banshee Tournament. So talk about this a little bit.
I really like the screen cap you guys took.
Yeah.
Good picture of me.
It's a good picture of you.
Yeah. It's been happening for 3 months now. As on Saturday, it's going to be the 13th event, and it happens every 2 weeks or just about. So far, Telia has won 10 out of 12.
Did she play in all 12 and won 10, or did she?
No,
Yeah.
she has not played in 2. So
That's
she's
what I thought.
won every single one that she's been in. There has been some very close contenders though, like QB is the one on the notes, and she's gotten the closest. We also had a couple of Terrans that do pretty well. So it's like usually she dominates, but occasionally there's a 3-2, and they're actually really exciting ZVZs.
Yeah.
At the end.
What I've been enjoying about this is it's been Tilly in the finals every time, and we've definitely only seen a couple of times that she's dropped maps, but with pulling this kind of completely out of my butt, I do think I see fairly different names in that top 8 almost each time. So that's kind of the cool almost WCS factor here, where you're seeing some variety, right? And you're seeing some gals that have something to play for, so do you think they're getting better? I guess you kind of have a front row seat at this. Is this helping them?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's why, in general, there's been proof about why, women only or minority only tournaments actually do well and are effective. So yeah, we generally see it doing better. I mean, from the beginning, Tilia, for instance, she wasn't playing a lot of Starcraft. So that was 3 months ago. And I think now she's made it back in GM and is like getting better along with everyone else who's participating. We have people mixing it up in the round of 8. Yeah. And then because it's connected to the Banshee group, which is why I use the name The Banshees, even though I made it, it's connected to The Banshees. There's always people joining in and saying like, yeah, like I didn't know this was happening. I'd love to join. And that's kind of the goal here. So cool. It's been very effective.
And how's the funding been for you guys? Have you been receiving support for the show, and how can people support the tournament?
Yeah, you guys, if you want to support the tournament, so we put a cap on every single week of the prize, right? Prize for that week, just to, for multiple reasons, really. But the funding for tournaments in the future is already it's set, guys. Like that's awesome. You don't have to really worry about it for at least a year.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't like this much money in my matching account.
It's cool to support.
Well, it's just like I'd love for the idea is that you guys, like, every week that this is on and I have the Matcherino up, like, fill the bar to give all the money you can to the players and some sort of admin. But then I'm actually gonna say, like, don't give us any more because I don't actually want thousands of dollars in my Matcherino account to, set off alarm bells and stuff. So yeah, it's already good, guys.
Stop supporting the tournament, everyone.
Guys,
knock it off.
Too much money right now. Can you please just stop?
Yeah. All right. Well, there's jokes to be had about that, but that's at the end of the day, that's awesome. That's really cool, and shout out to everyone that did that. But moving on, what's up?
Actually, oh my gosh, she's here. We finally had our first douchebag. We finally had someone impersonate not just a woman, not like just some random new woman. They impersonated a woman who actually plays in the tournament regularly, and who was very talkative. So as soon as she wasn't her usual self, I was like, hold on here. I don't know what they thought that was going to happen, but apparently Challenge, for anyone who makes like brackets out there, and Challenge has this really stupid system where if you can change your name at any point, which, okay, fine, as long as they have like a code that goes with it so you can make sure it's that person. No code. You can change your name and replicate it exactly to someone else. And when you click on it from then on out, it shows everyone who has used that name's history. So there's no way to check if that is the same Ragnarok in this instance as the weeks before. It was mind-blowing. It was funny once I realized that happened. And luckily we caught it quick enough. But yeah. Well,
it's funny because you guys caught it, but it's just bad. That's against the spirit of what this is. But you know what? It's also inevitable. I mean, anytime your tournament gets any kind of success or something like that, you're going to have those weird internet fish people that are going to be like, well, if I can googly my way into there, it's like, yep, here they come. So congrats on that. You're fully supplied, and now you have guys pretending to be women to try to get into your tournament. So you guys have really made it. Yep. Next up, we have the Base Trade Team Open Season 5. Mr. Rifkin continuing to do some great tournaments over here. There are 8 players remaining. Semifinals are a best of 7. So if you guys like TVT, I want you to buckle up and get ready for some exciting TVT between Kelizer, a Brazilian living abroad, and Cure, an internet grinder, going up. And we also have Gumio taking on Zest. Some pretty cool results there. You see Neeb making his way there. Masa in one of the 3 tournaments that he'll play in throughout the year. Chose to do that early here as well. And it's kind of cool seeing Kelizer getting some results because he's not full-time anymore. But every time a StarCraft nerd says they're not full-time, there's like 2 kinds of that. There's the kind where they actually don't play ever. And then there's the kind where they still play just as much. Basically all of, well, a lot of guys. It's their entire career, basically. There you go. Just below that, we have the ladder heroes. And look, I'll tell you what. Every time I look at this, there's just a big part of my heart that just palpitates because I'll tell you what. It's hard being a commentator out there, studying replays, making connections, commentating events, and then still playing hundreds and thousands of games against the other best players on the ladder like Jim Rising is, and somehow cramming a commentator career in there at the same time. And look at him taking 3rd place. Fear Dragon, this has been awesome. You've been putting some money in pockets of players here for a while. How's it going for you? How's the ladder hero's been doing?
It's going great. And I do have the answer for how Jim Rising makes it work.
Yeah.
Is that, and I don't feel bad because I've already talked to him about it. The solution is he just no-shows for the tournaments after he qualifies. So he oversleeps. And I'm like, it's funny too, because Jim Rising has one of the worst track records for oversleeping for tournaments. I've scheduled events that are at 5 p.m. and he tells me at like 7 p.m. like, oh, I'm so sorry, dude. I overslept.
Well,
I'm
that's prime siesta time, Ravi. There's no way you can make that.
I mean, exactly. It's just my fault.
It's middle of the day nap time, buddy. I mean, what do you think? Like, you. No, but some great names up there. It's nice seeing Cham up there. This is a guy who, this is not a topic in and of itself, but for me personally, as a StarCraft 2 fanatic, I hope he has a better WCS season this next year because the year before, 2017 at this point in time, he was looking to be one of the absolute best Zergs, and I still think he is. It's like hard because there's only so many WCS stops, but it's cool seeing him kick butt. Would love to see that show up. And then Puck, another player that's been my nightly ritual is watching Puck stream from like a godless hour to another godless hour, game after game after game, at the top of the ladder. He's playing well.
Those are 2 good players to also look out for in 2019. Because I talked with Cham a little bit. Like he got picked up by his new team, which is really freaking awesome. And also like he's just been way more motivated. He was really disappointed with last year, and he's like really motivated to do well again. And Puck, I think you already mentioned, he's been streaming a lot. But he's like a lot happier. Whenever Puck's happy, he plays really well. And
he's dangerous because he's one of those players that is willing to take a risk, and the more chaotic the game, I feel like the better his odds. So anyways, that's really fun. Ravi's the guy that's putting that on. It's been going for a little while here, putting some money in these players' pockets and giving some extra motivation to compete, and hopefully they can turn that into some WCS results. Moving on, we also have Masters Coliseum 4. A couple of handsome devils there in those finals. Is a picture of Parting from 2003. He's only 6 years old in that picture, and it's fun that we found that. Taking on the incredibly handsome Sue, but some great, these are the regulars here, and I personally am excited to see Parting start showing up in some of these online cups against these top tier players. His name as well, in my opinion, was missing from last year's kind of competition. He's been streaming for a little while now. I've hit him a number of times the ladder, which I think looks really bad for him, but at the same time, if we can get him off the ladder and into tournaments, that's probably going to be better for me. So there's your results. We have the Chinese Team League for 2019. Some of the regular names in there. And then some of the non-regular names. It's kind of interesting. It's the Chinese Team League. What I'm seeing, Scarlet there, Zest, Silky even, if that's the American Silky, if that's correct.
Probably not.
I don't think that's the American Silky. Scarlet likes to play in a lot of the Chinese events, especially since she's been in Korea.
You think there's a Chinese Silky and an American Silky?
There is.
There absolutely is?
There definitely
That's a fact.
100%.
It's a fact even? Jeez.
Yeah.
All right, that's why I bring you guys on. No room for Wiffle Waffle here. Parting in there as well. Pretty cool. So all the information's on this little slide here. You can check it out. I don't even know how to break down that prize pool because it's in RMB. I do not know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know.
Blue, yellow.
We have the SciX Alpha Pro Show Match Series taking place here as well. Some of these results, and you can see, I think they not Kickstarter, that's kind of an old term, but they raise money for these show matches and get these guys paid with some interesting results. Cal's are getting thrashed by Cham. Razorbladder beating out Firefox. Anytime you can beat an internet browser like that, that's impressive. And then Bly continuing his internet grind as per usual. But yeah, you can support on Matcherino, and it's on Africa TV. Check it out. Some more of that probably coming. The NA Apprentice Tournament going on here as well. I know all these names. These guys, each one of them has stolen hundreds of ladder points from me. I would be so much a better player if they didn't exist, but here they are. Astrea, by the way, and I'm sure that's not how you say his name. Every night he plays like 12 games with Puck on the ladder because the two of them are just at 6,400 and they just hit each other over and over again. But it's really fun. He's a very good Protoss.
He's so good, man. He is like one of my #1 picks of up and coming player 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, he also practiced on Europe. I believe I met him a few times as well. He's solid. Yeah, he's good. Surprisingly good, I would say.
Pretty cool. So a lot of this has been completed, actually, but it looks like the finals are coming up. PvP and a TVT, and then that'll go down into a PvT.
And the finals are actually happening on my channel on Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern.
Sunday, 2 p.m. There you go. You can follow Fear Dragon's Twitter as well to get the links and be notified about that, but great. That's awesome. We also have the GPL 2018 finals. 2018 finals. Took place on January 11th. Okay. Yeah, that's what sometimes that happens. Time defeated Tudming. Very cool. I'm loving all the Chinese competitions, though. That's one of the cool things about the show. And actually, we've always talked about this segment. People are like, no, I wouldn't know about half of this stuff if it weren't for you guys throwing this out there. So shout out to Alisaunder for putting this together, and also all the people that kind of submit stuff. But the Chinese scene is robust and awesome, and hopefully in WCS we'll see that reflected here. But there you go. Time beating out Tudming. This was a person that way back when Total Biscuit was actually really high up on and thought Time had a lot of talent, and we were going to see some results. So hopefully that's starting to happen. And next up, the Probots 2019 Season 1. There you go. I don't know what to say about this. Some robots are beating on robots.
I believe there's going to be some show match between Seral and one of the bots, but I'm not sure if this is connected, probably.
I don't know if it's
Is
this.
not connected at all. To
Yeah.
Oh, at all,
stuff.
okay.
So
But I'm not sure if Seral is going to play against DeepMind, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, eventually he has to, because that's like the mega hype thing.
Yeah, eventually.
But then Cyril's account stops being Cyril and it becomes John Connor, and it's like turns into this whole. He's like, "Who's John Connor?" Because I don't watch movies, probably, and then we have to explain it to him and show him movies and stuff like that. Anyways, this is awesome. This continues on. This is gonna be a big year for AIs, guys. So we will keep tracking this and get excited about it. And actually, Cobra's already got this kind of prepared. There's some slots of Cyril talking, or Team Ents, his team, talking about him doing battle with some of these robots. But I think this is something different from that league specifically, right? This is Reactor Now on February 15th. Okay, so more of that coming. Master Swan. No, excuse me. I almost skipped that. Sorry, Matt, you're right. I cannot forget the Sea Duckling Open. For God's sakes, guys, I feel terrible. Here is the Sea Duckling Open. And January 18th is when it finished, it looks like. So it's off by a few days here, but you can go to the channel and watch some mediocre players do battle, if that sounds interesting to you. And then we have the Master Swan Open number 11 here. Bronze to Master 2, a maximum of 4.9k MMR, which I just recently means that Zombie Grub's too good for this tournament. She cannot compete if she wanted to. On a Smurf, Zombie Grub hits me on the ladder and doesn't say that it's her. Wow. It is truly a mystery who your actual friends are these days.
she is ruthless on the
I know. She was waiting to beat me and then be like, yo, by the way, it's Zombie Grub, you dumb asshole. And then she like post the replay and host it on YouTube. And I'm like, okay.
I'm playing her.
Oh, come on.
I hit her. She's 700 MMR above me. And she's like, hey, man, can you just like not cannon rush? I'm like sitting here thinking she's on like a 20-game losing streak. So I'm like, oh, okay.
I said, please
that
don't
was like the
cannon
only chance I had of beating you. But you know what? Fine. I won't. And then she proxies me in the game that I
Oh,
don't.
no, I don't. No, I don't. Okay, sir. Good sir. Okay. So he's on his Cannon Rush account.
no,
you
sorry,
know,
yeah.
because his name,
Sorry, you one
clan
base
tag
me.
is literally Cannon Rush. And I'm like, please don't Cannon Rush, figuring he'd Cannon Rush. You know, it was like a joke. So I one base to respond to the Cannon Rush because it's TVP. It doesn't matter if I one base or not anyways. Like I'm going to find success. And on one base, I go for Banshees. And you know what he's doing? Because I knew he'd do this if he wouldn't go with Cannon Rush. He's trying to DT rush me.
Yeah.
But that's just my standard, okay?
Yeah,
I like these two commentators metagaming the crap out of each other and doing completely fictitious builds just to try and take some ladder points from each other. Wonderful.
Be nice.
I think this
I
is
thought
right
she was on a losing
after-
streak. I thought she needed like a motivational
I didn't know you were
boost.
being a good guy. I thought you were just playing along.
You didn't know Ravi was going to be a good guy when you asked for something?
He said his clan tags for his accounts are literally like Cannon
It's
Rush
cannons.
and DT Rush.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
But
Yeah.
as his friend, if you ask him not to do something, in what dimension do you believe that he'll be like, fuck it, still doing it?
you have to there's like escalations you have to go through, right? So if like you know, if I was angry with him or something and I was like, don't do that. At first he'd be like, you know, you what, you know, like what, and I'd be like, seriously, don't. And he'll be like, oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I actually can't argue with this. This is pretty accurate.
Fair enough. Anyways, that's all going on. We also have the Clash Caster Invitational Finals taking place this coming weekend. Our very own Indie Starcraft here was able to squeak by his ultimate opponent in control 3-0 and make his way to a all expenses paid trip to Italy, where he'll be taking on Alex 007, who will be playing random. Igor, I'd love to hear your thoughts, not on your quarterfinal match, because that's something we don't need to ever talk about. Frankly, it's old news. And if you want to talk about it, I'd question the fact that your ego is a little bit too large at this point in time. So I want to focus on the future. If you win this match, you're in the finals, some pretty significant money. It's got to be fun as a competitor, but you got Alex playing random. I mean, obviously don't give away your secrets, but what are you thinking about this matchup? What do you think about the trip?
I never had to prepare in tournament or ever against random. So there's two guys that play random. It's Alex and BSTQT on the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did, I just asked my friend to play random. He's GM random. So I think it's like Alex is also GM random. I think this is decent practice. So I just tried to look for the person that is also like pretty much Alex, but obviously the styles are different. And he might do some weird stuff as random because obviously we started the match. I have no clue to where to wall, where not to wall. And this is going to be like a really dicey one. I think he has a shot, but yeah. I think.
Do you favor yourself or do you favor him? Do you think?
Yeah, I favor myself, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't just want to sound like I'm boasting, but I think I'm better there.
No, that's fine. It's good to have confidence, especially after you beat me. You have to go on and win because then it makes me feel better. Yeah. And then on the other side, you've got Rotterdam against Jim Rising. So I want to talk a little bit about this match with you because it's a pet theory of mine. Not even theory, but I would say obsession. Rotterdam, very good player, very passionate, but he's taking on one of the absolute best professional players in all of StarCraft 2 that has somehow conned Todd into thinking that he is actually a commentator as well. Does Rotterdam stand a chance here, or is this the easiest Jim Rising rise of 2019?
The more I watched Rotterdam, I thought that he even moved up to 6.2k MMR on Europe, which is decent, I would say. But unfortunately, like the way he does it is just doing his own stuff. Like he's living like in this little Rotterdam box, and all of the rest of the pro gamers are doing something else. Maybe similar sometimes, but he has his own style. So I think if Jim Rising prepares, like he can win it quite easily, I would say.
Yeah.
But the thing with Rotterdam, even though you know what he's doing, sometimes it will work anyway. Which was the case in my match against Rotterdam. Like I know exactly what would happen in the games, and still it was very close. I think he should have won, honestly.
I want to just go on the record as agreeing with Indie StarCraft that Rotterdam is a dirty cheeser that doesn't actually have any skill. I think you kind of broke that down pretty well there. Jim Rising, on the other hand, though, is going to be well rested, so this match should take place just after one of his 6 naps that day, and he is going to be able to fly on a plane that he will sleep on. And then I believe he just makes Hydralisk. So this should be a really exciting match because it's going to be a question of, will Rotterdam's Phoenix catch Jim Rising's Hydralisk off guard? Because both those players are dirty cheesers that only do those things. only time will tell. It should be really exciting. All of which, of course, is going to be commentated by the famous Warcraft 3 personality Todd, who commentated, I believe, a single Starcraft 2 tournament in 2018. So it's going to be electrifying, to say the least. I'm just kidding. It's going to be awesome. We all love it. It's going to be super great. That takes place this weekend. Do you guys know the channel? I think it says it right here, probably, doesn't it?
It's one of the Clash channels, but it's not sure if it's class underscore or underline in American something.
He's clicking the
Oh,
Twitch.
Team Clash. Okay.
Team Clash. And that's
Team
Clash with a Q, by the way. Much like Jeff with a G. Makes sense to some. So that'll be taking place this weekend. We're really excited about that. Next up, we have the Pizza Pie Bi-Weekly Season 1. Thank God we got to the meat and potatoes of our actual content here on the Pylon Show. You can see Future of Terran beating out Bunny Willis in the finals. I'm looking at this and I'm like, I don't recognize... I know Riser and Future, of course. Future of Terran.
Don't you know Starkiller?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, the top of this bracket is super stacked.
I mean, that is the big surprise there, right? Is that Starkiller lost to Pizza
You're right.
Bi-Weekly.
One of his pizzas was denied to him, which is a rare occurrence.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be Future of Terran who actually takes it down. I really like him, by the way. He's been streaming. He's got a... I like the shots of him at the tournament that you covered, Fear Dragon, where he was really excited to win and do well. Like that's a cool young talent up on the rise. So hopefully this year can be the year that we start talking about him in the WCS system as well. But that's it for the Pizza Pie Bi-Weekly. Very cool. Next up, return of the Icy Far with Pig. The current challenge, or at least when we got this, which I'm not seeing a date on it, so maybe it's going on right now. Maybe it's not. Even if it's not, just submit it anyways and let them tell you that it's not. Because that's how we do things here. It's the Toddler Tantrums. Send in your replays where your ladder opponents act their age. Very nice. So if you get some rage coming at you, Pig would like to commentate it. And there's the information for that. We also have the General Transmissions interview with PrintF by Eret. Am I saying that right? How do you say his name?
Yeah, Eret.
Eret?
That's the way I was always told.
It sounds like the sound a DJ makes when they skip, Eret. Anyways, that's PrintF, who's actually, in my opinion, one of the more interesting people in the StarCraft scene. He's got like Excel sheets on timings and variations of where to go with builds. He's obviously known for his cannon rushing, but what I submit is that he begins to be known for his mustache. But really interesting. I love that he's putting out this content, and Eret's always around the channel as well, and just a great community person. So hopefully you guys will check that out. It's some of that wonderful content that you guys really want out there. And you got to support it so more people make it. General Transmission, also going on, episode 4. Who the hell is this? Interview with the Pizza Pie Bi-Weekly. Are you kidding me? They found another section on our show to talk about the Pizza Bi-Weekly? There it is. The pizza guys. I love all these people, though. They're really passionate and awesome, and they are churning out content on a very active basis, and you guys should check it out. These are people in our scene that would like to talk about StarCraft, and hopefully you guys will support it. So that's pretty cool. Pizza Bi-Weekly, you guys are great, of course, as well. They're just a little bit memed out on our show. General Transmission, a few minutes with Xanster at the Project Unity House by No Regret. That's awesome. So Xanster, for a lot of you guys that don't know this, is like one of the more wildly talented European Zergs. He's always around the top tier, but kind of held back by how tyrannical that scene is too, with some of the showtimes and Serals and some of these guys that just don't seem to be able to lose. But Xanster's way up there with him and sometimes taking series off of them as well. That's how good he is. So that's a cool interview. And I love the content that No Regret's producing out there. Other than the fact that I hate that he hasn't eaten a shoe yet. So if you don't watch that content, I don't blame you. Until he eats a shoe, he can, suffer. And then we also have, are you kidding me? It's PrintF again. Guys, nice username has interviewed PrintF here. So if you're like, that PrintF guy is pretty great in this interview, head over to this YouTube channel and check it out. But on a serious note, Nice Username does a great job of asking questions that kind of get you to know the person as well as what they're doing in StarCraft. So I highly recommend you check it out. And I apologize, I realize it's also a podcast. So when I say check it out, there's going to be people on the podcast like, you got to read the notes. Check out the notes. General Transmission, Science Chill Chats return on interview with Destiny. And that is the gaming personality Destiny. So you can check that out at Cyan Esports on Twitch. And he's got a Patreon at Cyan Esports as well. Destiny's awesome. He's a big Starcraft personality, very controversial, obviously, but he's also just become a wildly successful Twitch streamer who sometimes comes back to Starcraft and streams it. When he does, he has huge viewership and brings a lot of unique personality and perspective to the game. So for those of you that want to know some more about the history of Starcraft, Destiny's a part of it. Triumphant Song Gaming opened Starcraft 2 division. Does anybody know TSG? Okay, I'm just making sure I'm not being weird. It's a Chinese team, right? That's what I'm gathering from this while reading it.
Right.
So that's cool. More professional support for our Chinese players that are doing a lot of active stuff. Kudos to them. We'll have to see. And it looks like they signed Solar. Is that correct? And Hero? Awesome. So some of those Koreans getting some support as well. Wonderful. Good news for all of us. We also have the Chobo Team League, established in 2012. They're looking for players for the 21st season. So if you want to organize some players, you have to be from 3194 to Masters 2. So again, kind of looking for that lower to upper mid-tier level players. You guys want to organize some matches and do some stuff, check it out. They have a website. It's choboteamleague.com. And they have a Discord, which right there in the show notes you can see. If that's you in the chat or someone that hears this in the interwebs, do what you can. Get out there. Compete. It's fun. Next up, we have Probe, StarCraft 2 YouTube series PvZ guide. Probe is one of the top Australian Protoss players, an all-around great guy. When he's not body doubling as Snoot, he's actually producing content and competing in that Australian scene. So some more content there. You can check it out at YouTube channel Probe_SC2, where he will presumably talk about how to beat Zergs. And then we have Sith Gemini, or E.G. Emini, as a lot of us have known him. He's doing a guide on walling off and Reaper wall off guides, which is really cool. He's been producing some of this kind of more specialized content, very Fear Dragon-esque, I would even say. But you can check that out. And this link is just an imgur, so I'm not even going to be able to... Is that correct, right? Is it a hyperlink? Could I click on that if I...
Yeah, it's just an imager like album for all the different maps. Can I actually give a special shout out to Gemini?
Please do.
He's like really, really awesome. He's been doing this stuff and creating wall off guides and all kinds of awesome like Protoss utility, like knowledge based information things for years, just kind of thanklessly, just because he really likes doing it. And I think he finally did open up a Patreon. So if you guys are interested, consider supporting him.
Yeah,
he makes some really, really great stuff.
He does. And I know him originally for just literally being one of the most like passionate fans of some of the players and StarCraft in general. Like it's just kind of cool that he's turned this into a content producing thing, and that's the kind of energy I really like in the scene. And it's cool seeing people elevate that and escalate it. And this is actually awesome. Cobra's scrolling down through this, but that shit's helpful. And if I wasn't such a lazy bum about my StarCraft level of play, I would be super interested in this, but I'm not. I'm dead inside, so... Moving on, we have the World Electronic Sports Games 2018. Taking place in 2019? Or, anyways, March 11th through 17th, you can watch some fantastic players. 13 Protoss, 10 Terran, and guys, can I have a moment of silence, please, for those blue-collar, hard-working... non-whiners, the 21 Zergs that somehow managed to qualify for this tournament, despite the incredible imbalances they've faced since literally the launch of the game. Just please, just a moment of reflection and silence for them. Thank you. If you're a Zerg player out there and you've been able to persevere through the countless atrocities done against you, then I just want to say thank you so much. There it is. Innovation, participating, Time, the big Chinese player. Lots of new names, but then there's some players that are kind of on the rise. Rail, someone that I've been noticing has been doing well in the Ladder Heroes, Fear Dragons thing. It would be cool to see that translated into some tournament success. Max said, and the big Chinese players. So, and then Showtime, by the way, who the European scene has not so quietly been complaining a lot about. Apparently Showtime is nigh unbeatable right now. And the only person complaining, maybe more than the European scene about Showtime, is Showtime complaining about everybody else. So it's kind of it's a complaint off that they're having right now, which is really fantastic. So that's that. Coming up in March, make sure and check it out. We'll talk more about that as it comes closer, I'm sure. The World Electronic Sports Games 2018. What is this? It's an article?
Yeah.
It's an article.
Just an article about Dark.
Dark and his resurgence. Remember that time he called out Cyril and then got beat real hard? Topic number 2, this week in Brood War. Oh, this is a topic now. No. The Bombastic Star League continues. Our very own Rapid continues to churn out some great content, as well as Zero. You can see a lot of the usual suspects. Every time we cover Brood War, there's some of these guys that have just kicked butt, like DeWalt, Dandy, Kenzie, the French Zerg is way up there as well. It's really cool. So you can kind of follow that. And again, if you have the show notes in front of you, you can click on these links and make sure if you're wanting more of that Brood War content, please do support these content producers. Then we have the Have At You, which is put on by Sham2, one of my favorite content producers out there as well. And again, some of these regular names, Soma out there, Zealot's been getting a lot of results. Very cool stuff. This took place January 13th, but he's been doing quite a bit more of that. And follow Sham2 on Twitter too. He talks a lot about Brood War. And then on Fridays, he gets drunk and talks more about Brood War, so you should definitely follow him on Twitter. Brood War Battle Dome, put on by Andyman. It'll be on the Proxy_Tempest on Twitch TV, so you can check that out. But it is Mondays at 9 p.m. EST. He gives a little bit of money to some of these guys doing a King of the Hill kind of type of content, so that's pretty cool. And then we have the EGM Fight Night, Saturday at 2 p.m. Sorry, this is a long This Week in StarCraft, guys, because again, last week Jeff just blathered on about himself, basically, so we're doing quite a bit of this. He's running a foreigner-only StarCraft Remastered tournament January 26th, so just this coming weekend, pretty soon. Check it out. And this weekend, awesome, the skins. The Katowice Warchest. What do you guys thought of the skins? Zombie Grub, let's go to you first. She actually has, you have audio in your room too. You're yeah. I tried to catch her off guard. What do you guys thought of the war chest so far? It's the first time we've had building skins. Has that been cool for you guys, or underwhelming, or what do you think?
As a Terran, it's underwhelming.
Yeah.
I am really grateful as a Protoss player that Cannon rushes almost every game, that I finally have a way to express myself. Because if you don't make units, you weren't able to use the skins before. But now I have really dark skinned photon cannons and shield batteries, so I can really express myself.
Agreed. Igor, what are you thinking? You been enjoying it at all, or?
Yeah, I'm using them because I get the free code, but I don't care about skins too much, but I think they should be in the game always. And after some time, you can buy them and support the game more. But yeah, I like them. I think the Zerg always looks the best.
Really?
The Protoss one are really dark. And compare that with the new map year 0, I think that the cannon rushes of Fear Dragon can be like not seen until the cannon starts shooting.
It's too late.
Exactly. I found a way to stealth my photon cannons like my Dark Templar.
All right.
Yeah.
What is this? Okay. I would say I like it. I want to give a shout out to the community as well. They sold out again, I believe. Am I pulling that out of my butt? I thought they hit the cap again, right? They announced that? You guys don't know?
No.
Let's just say it. I don't know. But anyways, thank you guys for supporting. This is awesome. I also like that they've incorporated into, if you watch channels, you'll earn points towards your war chest as well. So a lot of people have like maxed it out pretty easily, which I think at the end of the day is kind of what you want. You don't want to open a war chest that you paid for and then have it be like, yeah, and after you win 1,000 2v2 games, you'll unlock one of the skins. It's like, you want to get that reward since you are paying for it. So I think it's been a pretty awesome activation. And thank you to everyone for participating in that. And then scrolling down here, go ahead, Matt, you can pilot it. Take it down. There is a StarCraft Soldiers #1. So this is a comic with Dark Horse Comics. Have you guys checked this out or seen it at all? I haven't either, but there are people that do, and they've said they really like it. And actually, the StarCraft book is supposed to be pretty cool. There's a couple of them. I want to say one's by Dan Abnett, who's one of my favorite authors. Anytime someone makes a book about a game, I generally in my mind go, that's going to be terrible. But apparently the comics and the books for StarCraft have been quite cool. So
yeah,
if anyone in the chat has been reading it, let us know what you thought. I'll take a look at comments there. But this just came out. January 23rd, so very, very recently. And you can buy it for only $4, which is really, really cool. And it looks awesome. Some cool stuff there. Okay. So we had, I think this will be our first kind of major topic, even if it's not listed as much, but we're going to dive into this one a little bit. We had the community update, January 16th. So this is, about a week ago, almost on the dot right now. But some pretty major changes went through the game. And it was just, gosh, guys, it was yesterday it was implemented or today?
Yesterday.
It was yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday.
That's what I thought. Do we have them listed out, Cobra? Do you want to open them up while we go through these? Yep, there it is. Cool. So let's just go race by race, guys. We've had a day of sitting on this. You guys have probably talked about it or seen it, and the community certainly talked about it. What do we think about the Terran ones first, Zombie Grove, if you want to tackle some of this?
Okay. So when I first read these notes, I was displeased.
Well, you're a Terran player. I mean...
Well, yeah. Well, I felt like it addressed things that either hadn't been developed enough to have to address, or weren't actually as big of a deal as people made it out to be amongst the pro games, which is usually what they make balanced stuff about.
Yeah.
So it's more about that than I think that either any race was under or over buffed. Although I got some thoughts about the Protoss.
One race at a time.
One race at a time.
Yeah. In fact, actually, there's a website called Terrancraft that has a pretty smart guy writing articles about Terran things, and while everyone seemed to have really lukewarm responses to all of this stuff, I was surprised because I read it and I was like, no, this is why. Everyone else is like, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I think that Protoss thing's kind of like, I don't know about that one. And I'm like, what the f-? And he actually agreed. He just like went off on this and thought it was terrible. And well, I don't want to put words in his mouth. Guys can check it out, but yeah, I feel like they all kind of came from, I don't know, like situations I didn't say happen like that needed to be addressed. Like the battle cruiser, for instance, I guess is a good example. So they increased the weapons refit is Yamato, by the way, guys. That wasn't obvious, but they increased that by twofold, yeah, and a little bit then some, like just a huge increase. And I actually did not think the Yamato battle cruiser rush was that potent. In pro games, like a lot of the pro Zergs had already been talking about how they were countering it, and then when Terrans found a new way to survive their counter, that's what Starcraft is all about. And I think that's a good dynamic, and I like hearing about that type of stuff. And then they go ahead and go, no, a bunch of Zergs are complaining, but maybe not the pro Zergs. So we're gonna fix it. And I'm like, but actually it was fine. Like I don't understand. So that's been my reaction to a lot of these things. The Thor, I think, was something that there needs to be a better answer to this late game problem that Terran has. So that's fine, but I guess Terran bias buff, right?
It's a slight buff, though. I think that's just to stop you there. What's funny about these two changes is even if there was a Yamato cannon change, to double the time is pretty intense. Yeah. Like I don't know of. I think we've had some pretty severe imbalances in the past with other upgrades or things, and I can't think of a time they doubled the time. More than doubled. Like that's.
Yeah. It's a very big increase for what ended up being a totally untested idea.
Yeah.
Even more so than usual. I saw plenty of Twitter complaints and arguments, but yes, the balance patches are not really tested. That is true, but they're usually given more time if they have significant jumps, of which this felt like a bigger patch than the one that happened in November in some ways.
Exactly.
So it's really weird that this is probably the shortest it's been that they've been like, hey, we're thinking about this. We're doing it.
I think it might be
really weird.
It might have been just because there was such a strong reaction of like a lot of Zergs getting knocked out. We only had 21 Zergs qualify for WSG.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
It should have been something closer to 30, honestly.
But it's, it's 2018.
But seriously though, like yes, that could have been an issue if it wasn't for like the length of time, I suppose. Like I feel like when all the expansions come out, all these new patches come out, and even though the most recent patch besides this one was in November, I feel like because it's part of the dead zone of Starcraft, we don't actually get to see the meta develop and the responses develop. Every other time we've had new patches or expansions, these first few months or weeks have been severely imbalanced. Like Terrans go way far up in the win rate, Zergs go way up in the win rate, and that's like how it's just supposed to happen. So
Yeah.
I feel like this is a very strong reaction if that is what they were thinking, but it can't be what they were thinking because they literally announced this last week, and that's when all of our qualifiers were.
Yeah.
All of them, all in 1 week. So that wasn't the
The
reason.
timings felt a little bit odd. I agree with that criticism. I think it's a good point that in this dead zone, it's a little bit harsh to have severe changes. At the same time, I can't help but to think it still is cool that they're looking into the game, because it's not like they're just like, there's not a board on a wall where they're throwing things and like, I don't like Yamato, I guess. Like, they are looking at the game and they are trying to hone in on it. This just does feel a little bit strange. It was kind of funny. I'll tell you, as a person that consumes a lot of StarCraft content, the passive-aggressive thank you for the Thor buff from all the Terrans. I don't know if you guys have like a chat room or something that you all just kind of meme together or what, but it was like, it was so universal how every Terran player was like, wow, now I can use my Thor, but they weren't. I'll tell you what, if I'm out there and I'm Blizz Dev working on this, I'm like, you know what? Okay, I'll triple it next time. Triple, you ungrateful Terran players. But what do we think about Cyclones? I cut you off before we kind of got to talking about that, but they also more reasonably increase the amount of time it takes to get that upgrade up online.
That one's kind of weird because I think it boils back down to my initial point, which is that I didn't see it as much of a problem as apparently they deemed it to increase it by 21 seconds.
Yeah.
But apparently they did it because of the Cyclone strength in TVZ, and then I cast the qualifiers, a week and a half worth of qualifiers, where 90% of the time the Cyclone meta got fucking slapped.
Yeah.
Just dead. Just don't even try it. And the 10% that I did see at work, it was, it was fun. It was cool. It was actually kind of a nice style to have mech in. It was like playing Baya was mech. And so I don't see it. I didn't see it as much of a problem in TVZ, but apparently other people did.
Yeah, TVZ is a weird. I that's part of what I'm excited about is I don't really watch that much tournament play until the WCS season kind of rolls around. That's when I start to really dive into it. I heard about it in the TVZ matchup. In the TVP matchup, I thought the Cyclone was in a really cool place. Some of the cooler games I've seen is like this really chaotic, very aggressive Cyclone style. And then I thought that it was actually a very strong early, because there's this terrible, we've had such a tough time finding a balance of like oracles are very good, but you can't make oracles useless in that phase of the game, and then also they can't be too good because it ruins the matchup both ways. I thought the Cyclone was an amazing answer, and a lot of Terrans just throw the tech lab on a factory, make 1 or 2 Cyclones, shuts down Warp Prisms, shuts down Cyclones. There is counterplay to it, but it made it safer for Terrans to have an early game, which was one of their biggest complaints. And when I say Terrans and one of their biggest complaints, I'm talking about a list of like thousands and thousands of things. And this was towards the top, guys. So that's an incredibly important thing for us to address at some point. Thankfully, they were able to do it in just 1 week. You know what I mean? Those Terran players had to wait a whole week. No, I'm just kidding. It was all a joke. It's all a bad joke. I thought it was a good change. The other thing that we were getting that I think is heading in I think they're a little bit, they were like too fast on this, but I think they're afraid of it, is that meta where you just like have a factory at home, proxy a factory, and you just spam out Cyclones and grab half your mineral line and throw that at your Protoss. And it makes for really lame games. I'm not saying that makes for cool games in the reverse when Protoss do equally lame proxy immortal strategies. We'll talk about the Protoss part and stuff like that. But it goes to show they're kind of working on that, right? Igor, what have you thought about the Cyclone change?
I think that in TVP against Protoss, it was all right. Like, you basically make War Prism, and the Cyclone all-in is not as strong anymore, unless you mess up the micro. But I'm speaking about the like fairly high level, where you can always pick up the Stalker or Immortal or anything. So the Cyclone, I guess this change is just for the TVZ matchup, not against the Protoss, because it was all fine, all good. If you scout, you can counter it. It wasn't OP. But for the Thor change, actually, I think this is pretty big change, because Thor now outranges Broodlords. And actually, if you get like 16 Broodlords as Zerg, and you attack Terran, there's not much you can do, I would say. At least that's what both Zergs and Terrans told me, actually. So I think this Thor change might be bigger than people think for the timing and mech, obviously. For the Battlecruiser, I think this is like, what? Like, it's fine. And they actually fixed the other thing, which was Battlecruiser was prioritizing drones over Spore, even if it was in the range.
It was so
and they
funny.
fixed that. So they shouldn't, I think, make this change with the Yamato.
That was shocking for me. I've been playing some off-race with my brother and stuff, and you'd like teleport in 3 Battlecruisers, and there'd be like 3 missile turrets or something like that, and you'd be like, well, naturally they'll kill the missile turrets. No, they won't. You have to click on them. That was
Yeah.
weird.
That's broken. But I think that Tor change is interesting, but it's not like the Tor. I think the Tor also outranges the Liberator without the range, even if it's like, maximum range. So I think it might have some role in TVT if you want to brute force the other Terran somehow. Yeah, but most of the time you need Vikings anyway. But Tor, it might be a bigger change than what it seems.
I think the
even
Thor change is
against,
good. I think it's just it's what it's paired with that Terran players are salty. In particular, the Yamato. Like everyone looks at the Thor one, they're like, no, that's good because as a Protoss player, it makes Thors actually kind of dangerous against Tempest as well. They'll get their shots off, and if you're sloppy and your Tempests are all clumped up, you'll take some pretty severe damage there. It obviously doesn't make them like the hard counter, but it makes them compete with it, whereas before it was kind of silly because if you kited backwards with your Tempest, they just didn't do anything. So that's a good change. It's just the Cyclone one is a little bit and then the Yamato one is like, what? It's also not like it's not mega impactful though, right? Can we say that? The Yamato one, it's lame, but it's not mega impactful. Was there anybody that's going to argue that Terrans are going to start winning less because they don't have faster Yamato?
No.
Does this
and
hurt?
But the thing is that they're trying to get rid of the potency of the openers, right? But there's already Terrans who are developing non-Yamato openers anyways, and they were still getting value from the battlecruiser. So I don't think that helped or hurt actually, but it was just a weird change.
It was a weird change. Well, all right. Let's actually, Revi, you had something to say, or?
Oh no, I was actually just going to ask a question that Zombie Grub answered, which was because I know that a lot of the battlecruiser openings, like I see you immediately teleport in, you Yamato one down one queen. I wasn't sure if there was like some weird math or something like, oh, if you kill one of the queens, then it like hurts certain things and you can do more damage or whatever. I don't know.
No, not really.
When you Yamato one queen, that just means they have 9 left is all. So it doesn't do that much. Let's go on to the next race. Next one we have, hopefully it's not Protoss because I want to save that. It's Zerg. So the Zerg changes. This also elicited a pretty salty response because this was not what they've grown accustomed to in the last 6 years, which is a constant string of buffs and unending love from Blizzard. So the Ultralisk does get faster, quite a bit faster off creep. I think I'll like say which each one is, and then we can go back and talk about them. The Nidus Network goes from health 200 to 300, and then they reduce the armor by 1. We'll talk about that in a second. And then the last, was there one? No, that was it, right?
That was it.
Yeah.
So, a little, I mean, what do you guys think? Does any of these leap out at you? Has Zergs really, it's just weird, again.
They are small, most of all. They don't seem like they should make too much impact. Maybe Ultralisks, but the problem right now with the Ultralisk subrace is that they are separate, which means you have to buy Ultra Cavern after the hive is done. Then you need to get 1 upgrade, second upgrades, like I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes even. And the Ultras are expensive. And even if you get them, it's not like game-changing moment like Brood Lords, for example, usually are. But they can always push the enemy away. So the Ultra change, I think they maybe should merge the upgrades to encourage Ultras more, but wait for that like a month from now.
I think that's actually very good advice because I agree with you. Ultras show up as, and what I like them to function as in StarCraft 2, I preferred them in Brood War, obviously, but in StarCraft 2, I guess, is there a nice tech switch? Because if they only have the Brood Lord as your end game, kind of this is my tech, if that's your only real option, then your player can set up and get ready for that for like 10 minutes, right? Whereas with Ultralisk, I think the problem it falls into as it stands right now, and I do agree with you, is because it takes such a long wind-up time, the natural army of the Terran or Protoss pretty much takes that into account, right? Like they're like, oh no, Ultras! Well, it's good. I have 9 carriers and 8 Tempests, so I guess I just still win that fight too. Whereas if the Ultras came online faster, and then I actually would take it even a step further, I wouldn't mind a pretty big buff to them in general. I
think that the biggest would be, I don't know if you guys ever talked about this, but Ultralisk should overstep Zerglings because they always, they just should, because it's like Colossus can walk over the Protoss army. Why not Ultra cannot go over the links? Not other units, but I would make Ultralisk more mobile.
Marines.
Really?
Do they?
What?
You know what though, Igor, you're exactly right. It has to be something because my biggest problem with Ultras is how big they are and wieldy that like when they attack a base, accidental SimCity shuts them down, right? Like a guy spamming 4 gateways just locks them out. They just die. Every late game tech is good against them. You're gonna have immortal, so they're very situational. Like in what situations is a Protoss like? Well, I can only make zealots. In which case, sure, ultras are good there, but so was everything else. So that they've had an identity crisis for me in all of StarCraft 2. I've never seen ultras and thought that was the better option. And Zergs have always joked about this, and I think it's actually true, that you only go ultras when you're trying to lose the game from being ahead. You're like, I'm going to start making ultras, and here's where I start to struggle.
But I feel like this is like you guys talking totally about ZVP though. Like,
yeah,
the relationship between Terrans and Zerg Ultralists have been
it's a little bit better
for a little while. Well, okay, so there's beginning Legacy of the Void where Zerg literally got nothing but buffs, by the way.
I was there.
But where like, you know, like no, yeah, but the Terrans were, you know, almost a year's worth, not being able to deal with ultras. But that said, like it is still, I think, something that they do think of, that Blizzard probably thinks of, and everyone thinks of.
Yeah.
Really, as a viewer, maybe not as a Protoss player, that they're thinking mostly of TVZ.
Yeah.
So when they see upgrades, I almost always like, I don't really consider the Protoss perspective, because I'm just like, well, they have immortals anyways.
Well, if they buffed ultras, do you think that would still be okay for TVZ is what I'm saying?
That's where I was going to get into, right? Is that like you try and make them a more interesting unit in the other matchups, and then suddenly TVZ, which is a bit on a, I mean, I don't want to say it's a knife's edge, but it feels like it's an okay dynamic right now. Although I think Zergs would disagree, because we do see a lot more Broodlord tech. But we're like, ultras shouldn't be something that you just spam and then they're super effective. They should have something that keeps them tempered, like not being able to run over Lings, for instance, because what actually kills you is the Ling flood that comes ahead of the ultras, and then they surround you, and then the ultras kill you, right? So there's actually like a decent design, I feel, balance, I guess. Is that the right phrase I'm looking for?
I think
that happens in TVZ, but they're not interesting, and maybe they are a little underpowered. But what would you give them that wouldn't just completely flop the balance?
To that point, what kind of leaps out at me, and this is spitballing, so I haven't spent sleepless nights thinking about this, but like maybe you make them 50 more minerals, 50 more gas, so it is a nerf, but you give them another armor or two, and they're even better at their role or something, and their presence is more severe. Because it still does feel like, even in the TVZ matchup, you probably have ghosts, right? Or if you don't, you should. And to Igor's point, if you don't have ghosts, the windup for ultras is so dang severe that you can get ghosts by the time, unless you're just not being aggressive and not scouting at all. And then Terrans would love to just make Marines in literally all 3 of the matchups at all times. But when ultras start showing up, they have to get some Marauders out. I understand their pain, believe me. But I feel like they also are in position to do that at that time as well. So I understand you don't want it to be this like silly ultra meta where, oh my god, they showed up and the Terran couldn't do anything. But I'm trying to think of a time where ultra showed up and felt like they took control of a matchup. And we're only talking about TVZ right now, but ever. It feels like they were like what they could afford at the time, because getting to Greater Spire was too far. That's it.
I don't know. It's this, because it's all about the synergy that actually makes it scary. Because the reason that I think we saw a lot of people stop going for ghosts, and we had a bunch of different phases of metas, but is that they would defend the ultras and even the broodlords, and the Zerg would go like cracklings, and then they'd swarm what was 20 ghosts with very limited splash, but how the game has gone on, broodlings taking out the tanks and whatnot, and then we'd be like, okay, well, we go back to Marines and Marauders, and then we go back to Ultras, which is why I keep saying, like, it sounds like when I say this stuff that the design is actually interesting to force people to tech swap, to force people to react to things, but apparently it's not it's not maybe balanced anymore. Maybe the Ultras do need a buff. I just don't know if you really want to encourage to make all Ultras. Do we really like them make them super badass when cracklings in the late game are actually very good against what is the natural counter, or the maybe not the natural counter, but what they tried making the natural counter was his ghosts. Like, then what is the counter to the late game that is now both Lings and really good ultras? Like, well, I don't know.
Okay. So predictable caution from the Terran players saying don't buff the Zerg Ultras. I got you. Does anyone have any strong?
Okay, hold on here though. My one idea that I was like, maybe I shouldn't bring up, but it's like why they are good in Brood War, is what I was trying to think of. Why they're actually good. And I wouldn't mind them if they were cheaper and like one armor less, but they did go overlings, for instance. They were like a part of the Zerg swarm, and they're a bit more of that role. Because that's what
part
they
of
felt
it.
like.
That would be a start.
When you watch them.
Would you want them to just go over links or all ally units, or also be able to walk over enemy units? Because you're talking about like the whole Colossus thing, and the way the Colossus works, you don't see it because Colossus want to stay at a range, but they can walk over enemy units. I'm pretty sure too.
That's a good point.
Oh, you almost never see that.
If you could just walk an Ultra into like the middle of a Marine pack and then start AoEing as opposed to like being on the edge.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That'd be interesting.
Well, I think we're just talking about allied units.
I also think Dark Swarm is the sexier, way more interesting family member to Blinding Cloud. Like that was part of the reason why Ultras are way better in Brood War.
But
yes, they were less clunky, but also the idea of like siege breaking and jumping in with the Dark Swarm was a huge deal. Which is something we're kind of missing. But anyways, do you guys want to get into like a 20-minute talk about Nidus, or should we just skip on to the Protoss?
It's just the Nidus room, so they're not going to make it ever be what they want. They wanted a late game macro potential like a Nidus Canal, and it's not going to happen.
It's very tough to kill Nidus now. That's and the units pop out twice as fast. So I think it's pretty big, and the Nidus always might come back. But yeah, you need a lot of units to kill it. Actually,
Nidus the Zerg bunker though. This is like I've been making. I've been on State of the Game, Inside the Game. Now this like for years. I feel like this is. Every other month, we're like, guys, it changed the armor to 0.13, and its load up time is 0.076% faster. And I'm like, maybe that'll change it. Then they interview Zerg players, and like, Zerg players, what do you want? Hydra buffs! Okay, next thing. Anyways, that's Zerg. Let's go down to Protoss. And this was, I will tell you, and I'm sure Ravi is about to have this same experience. I flinched. So every time there's a community update, it's as if I'm being taxed by the IRS. I always kind of get down to the Protoss section and go, what are they taking now? What did I do wrong for the last year that they're going to take? Reading this gave me like weird Starcraft PTSD because I was like, that's a buff. And then in their description, they tried to explain it as if it was a nerf. Like with the Adept, they're like, it builds 3 seconds slower. And I'm like, 3 seconds? I was ready for this to be a minute and a half. Like, this is... And they give this long explanation about how they're like, Adepts are a little bit too strong at the beginning. Guys, 3 seconds? Anyways, I'll move on. We'll come back and talk about it. Then we get to the Cybernetics Core, which I think the StarCraft 2 dev team hasn't talked about since 2012. And that was when Day9 did a dance and had a crowd of people idiotically mimic the dance at an NASL event. They decreased the warp gate research time? I had to check the time. I was like, is it April's? Is it April Fool's? What's going on here? And then they mentioned the Stalker, and I'm like, well, the Stalker, that's a core unit. Surely they're about to take an absolute dump on it. And they decreased the blink time, or the blink cost. 150, which is already reasonable, to 100.
Oh, sorry, hold on. Hello? Hi. Yeah, this is Fear Dragon. Hitman? Hitman, is that you? You're coming back to StarCraft? The Blink All-In is back? Oh my god. Jeff, I have some great news. I was just on the phone with the legendary Hitman, and it turns out one-base Blink All-Ins are back.
Yeah. That's amazing they called you like that. That's so sick.
How long have you been waiting to do that?
I actually...
The phone is that your actual phone ring, or is that a sound you had?
That was actually a phone ring. I downloaded an app that like I think is the advertisement for the app was, "Are you on a bad date and need an out?"
There it is.
You need an escape. Well, press this button and it'll fake a ring.
No, I'm available right now.
I have to credit Ray's for that joke. He told me to me yesterday, and I was like, I'm gonna use this.
Yeah. Well, guys, I had the weirdest reaction reading this because this is a slight nerf to Adepts and pretty significant buffs. Now, Indy, we got to go to you first. What were your when you read this? What were you thinking?
Well, thank God it's right before the tournament that I'm gonna play in Italy. Please don't remove that. And thankfully, they even kept the Oracle.
Oh, there's more.
I don't
Yeah,
know
hang
how it's
on.
going.
Before you give
yeah,
your thoughts. Sorry,
okay.
there's a second page of buffs, guys. This is completely foreign to me. I apologize. There's actually more. So then we get down to the robotics facility, and this is something that they were teasing around. Like, if you guys remember their big patch for 2019, this is one of the ideas they had. Then they pulled back from, because I presume at BlizzCon they said they were going to do this, and the 36 out of 40 players that were Zerg there shot it down, probably led by Scarlet, dressed in like a black robe with glowing red eyes, and she's like, "You will not change this to the Protoss." And they were like, "Oh my God, Scarlet, I'm so sorry." And then like a month passes and they're away from Scarlet, and at Blizzard they're like, "We haven't buffed Protoss in 7 years. Let's give him something." And Scarlet like reached out to them, "Do not do it." And they're like, "No, Scarlet, get out of here. You're in China now." 200, 100 to 150, 100. 50 minerals in the pockets of Protoss players, right in our coifers. 50 minutes. You know what I can do with that? You know what Roddy can do with that? He can finally afford Warp Gate upgrade. We're talking about 50 minerals that this dumb POS was saving himself and then justifying to the internet that made sense. He was like, no, it's 50 gas and 50 minerals. And every time I watch him play and he's floating like 200, 200, and he's like, "No, guys, I can't afford Warp Gate. Don't do it. No, this is an important part." I've never seen like a, anyways, sorry, I won't sidetrack the show.
You can beat Grim Rising now.
No, he cannot. Not after his siesta. He will certainly not. Immortal cost. And this is where, my heart skipped a beat. I was like, oh no, they're going to take a 25 minerals. So there it is. It's the trickle down economics. Okay. We saved 50 minerals on the Robo, but we're spending 25 minerals on the Immortal. And here's their justification. We don't want those Immortals to be too strong, built outside of their base. Keep it inside your base. 25 minerals, Blizzard? You think that's going to stop the Protoss players? No. We spend 100 minerals on a Zealot, and its only job is literally to die and confuse the opponent for long enough that our other units will have a chance to deal any damage at all. And if that unit is a Stalker, then that Protoss player is about to lose as well. Then the Observer speed was increased as well. At this point in time, as I'm reading this list, I'm like, this is a joke. They're building me up. And this patch will be reversed. Probably Saturday, I would say. Andy, when's your match? Sunday? It'll be Saturday.
I hope it's gonna be Sunday.
Get this, guys. This is huge. From 2.63 to 3.01. Can I take a second to talk to you guys about obnoxious numbers? 2.63 to 3.01. Someone in that board meeting said, let's hike it up to 3. And then some other jackass looked at that number, and it's probably the dev lead. This is Tim here we're talking about. He goes, no. 3.01. And they all looked at him and were like, well, we can't argue with him. He's the boss. Does this number not piss anybody else off? 3.01, you don't see that get pissed off? Nobody?
That has to be the speed for something else. That has to be like
It's like
something related.
It's to make it look intentional. Because if they just went to 3,
Yes, it is.
like, just pick that number.
Oh my God. God bless game devs. They're building games and they're doing a great job. It's the best damn game ever made. So I love you guys. But you're worried. If you number something 3.01, you're worried that someone doesn't think you're doing your job. You're like, no, we crunch the numbers at 3. At 3, it's not enough. At 3.02, forget about it. That observer's flying around with afterburners coming out behind it. My God. And then the gravitic boosters upgrade now goes from 1.51 up from 1.31. Which is suspiciously just an increase of 0.20. And now those numbers are getting kind of simple, so I'm a little bit worried. Anyways, this is a massive one, and we'll circle back and talk about a lot of these. Thank you for putting up with my rant, but this is the Protoss section, so this is all built up inside of me. The Oracle, remove light, added armored. which means a lot. So for people that don't know, that means that kind of the things that we're shooting on oracles like Phoenix, we're doing it really, really well. They were talking about PVT, where it dies very quickly to cyclones. And now as an armored target, it's going to be... Stalkers are better against it, but anyways, we'll circle back to... You guys probably understand this better than me, so I'm interested to read that and hear what you guys think. Tempest, movement speed decreased from 3.5, a round number, to 3.15. Harrison. Bro, I can hear that. Acceleration decreased from 2.8 to 2.1. Okay. And now we can open it up to discussion. So, Indy, 2 pages of mostly Protoss buffs. Who did you call? Who was your first call when you got these patch notes? Was it your mother?
Well, it was delightful read
Yeah.
with the champagne, and yeah, let's hope they won't change it before the tournament, and maybe WCS, so my friends will also have a good shot in WCS Winter. Yeah, the adept change, first of all, is okay, but actually the maps are the new map is like the new maps are so big that this change like doesn't really affect anything.
It's
really.
3 seconds.
It was such a narrow window.
I actually, yeah, it's not a window before you kill the SAV building CC with your adept. So it has some sense. It's okay, but I think you should actually just build your gateway in the expansion, and then I think you should still get it. Like, it's super close, but you should get it. Also, you can just make the gateway on the 15th instead of 16 supply, and you still get that. So this change, I don't know, whatever. So it's like the Ultra List change. Like, okay,
Yeah.
okay. All the Yamato rather. So the cybernetic score, I'm hoping the 4 gates are not coming back, and yeah, timings like this, I don't think they are super fun. I think it used to be like that, right? Like in
Yeah.
Wings of Liberty, the 4 gates all the way, and then they increase the time, and the 4 gate is not as strong anymore.
Mhm.
So right. Well, it's good for Protoss because it helps you to defend all-ins against Zerg, for example, timings of Terran, and this is weird to me because like the way that, like, for example, Protoss against Terran works is that you have to usually deal a lot of damage, or some damage rather. And with this change, it's becoming way harder. And then you have all these other changes, which is Blink, which also helps you defend. Like, you can not Chrono Boost Wargate, put it to Blink, and then you're almost superior. And it goes on and on pretty much. With the Robo decreased, it also helps you to defend and then to attack. And actually, Immortal, as you stated, you save 50 and then you pay 25 more. So only after 2 Immortals, you have to pay like the more money in the actual patch. And I don't know, this changes are like, I agree with most of them because I'm Protoss, right? But from the objective side, I would say they're a little bit ridiculous because in the current state, like, Zergs are not doing as good as WESG 2018. Maybe they
It's
saw
a tough
it.
performance to follow up, to be fair. I mean,
and actually, I love the Oracle change. Like, this is the very good change. As you said, the Phoenixes aren't like, if you make an Oracle, you can use, now you should have time to recall it back home, for example. So
or
this
kill
is good
a lot
change.
of probes if they just have the 1 Phoenix. Like, you'll
Right.
kill their mineral.
Yeah.
Counterpoint, I'll make a Void Ray now and Prismatic Align and kill your Oracle now.
Counterpoint to your counterpoint, you made a Void Race you're about to lose anyways. GG.
Yeah, right. And Oracle has armor, so as you said, Stalkers should be an option against Target, because Target is the best tech anyways in PvP. So maybe with these changes of the Robo and Oracle, it's fine. Also, the thing that you said, Cyclone is fine against Oracle, like better, but also Viking. So it helps experience as well. So it's good for the Viking. And yeah, I like the Oracle change. And probably they will, there's that glitch with the Oracle so that you can deal 50 damage more if you micro it correctly. So you can even kill probes if there's shield battery. So I guess they will remove it in, I don't know, before IEM Katowice, I guess, because they said that already. And Tempest, I didn't get the Tempest stage too much, so I don't know. But I guess it's right because it was too mobile against Terran, and but against it doesn't matter too much nowadays because
It didn't feel super impactful. I mean, I'm sure at the very, very top level Protoss players are like, no, it's a pretty big deal. But I did a day of laddering yesterday, and obviously it's slower, but not so much so that I saw some of the matchups of the Tempest become a problem all of a sudden. Corruptors are a little bit better, but the problem is like if the Tempest were losing the fight, they weren't like outrunning everything anyways. The things that would be beating them in the fight are still chasing them down, I found. It's good though. It needed to happen because it made for some weird fights where like the Marines could get under your Tempest, but you'd get over the cliff a little bit quicker, and then they're not hitting it, and you lost like 2 Tempests, and now they lose their army. I get it. It was good. Good change.
Yeah, I think the Tempest change is fair, but the Vikings would counter them anyway. Now it's just easier to use Vikings against Tempests if that's happening in the game.
Yeah. What about
but
you
they were
guys?
fine as well.
Zombie, the lone Terran player on the show. I'm sure this is a traumatizing moment for you, and you said you were going to be pretty upset with this segment, so go ahead.
Okay, well, half of it was what you went over, which is that some of the stuff is just like, why?
Yeah.
Like not like balance why, but just like what numbers? What meta are you? I don't anyways. So yeah, I agree with India on basically everything. I think is spot on. Depth is for the Terrans. I think the service core isn't gonna also make a change, but 14 seconds in StarCraft 2 is actually like
it's a lot.
a big deal.
Yeah.
That's almost an extra warp in. Like that's almost one extra warp in.
Well, there you go. That's a good way to reference it. So it might be a big deal, but I think their idea is that by that time, then the other races are set up enough, anyways. I guess is their theory, right? Robotics, I don't actually care, I suppose, but the Flink research, like I just don't know why. Like were Protoss players really like complaining over 50-50 for most of these things? I don't think so.
Yeah, but I think it's because the PvZ meta is always target pretty much. Sometimes DT drop, but
all right. Yeah, you're right. That's
target.
why. That is the reason why, but I don't think it's actually going to be the reason why it no longer is the main thing to go for. So
yeah, especially on the big maps, target is still the best. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
I think it's the timing of it that's kind of funny because these are a lot of changes that, if you remember, that we did a couple segments at even BlizzCon or we talked about these things. They just never implemented a lot of it, and it's now, the end of January, and they are finally being kind of rolled out. But the Protoss one feels like a big wad. Like the Zerg one is ultra slightly faster. Nidus changed a little bit. Sure, that could have some impact. Terran ones are kind of, the Thor gets +1 range, and they're like, let's talk about Protoss now. It's 2 pages of buffs. That is interesting. It's even like a politically interesting statement because, and I'll do this on the show, I'll say it right now, Protoss players are the most hated players and race in StarCraft 2. It just is the weird culture that for whatever reason developed back in Brood War. They just simply are. The way they win rubs Terrans and Zergs the wrong way and always has. So to give them 2 pages of buffs feels like walking in with a supermodel at your ex's like birthday. It's like you're gonna have a bad time and you're asking for it. I feel like Blizzard should have stretched these buffs out over the next 6 years, like 2 at a time, I think. And there's a chance that the Terran and Zerg cults would have allowed this to happen, but Scarlet has already hammered out 60 emails, guys. I'm not even fucking kidding you. There's probably 60 emails floating in the interwebs right now, hitting Blizzard one after another about pretty bad stuff. So there's no way any of this is going through. Maybe the decrease of Tempest.
Well, actually, on the last few things, the Oracle, I might even like that. The Observer, I thought was not helpful for you guys. You can correct me if I'm wrong. It feels like, it just feels like it dies faster to getting caught by an Overseer with Hydras. Am I wrong?
It keeps up with your army better is part of the situation. So there's like the Tempest army and some of these things.
Oh, okay. The air army, I suppose. That makes sense.
It makes it slightly cleaner. I
guess it makes it cleaner, but I'm more worried because like I feel like Protoss have said they intentionally do not get gravitic boosters because then that exact scenario happens.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's pretty funny. You can't hotkey in with the army. You have to tell them to follow the units. And then what's funny about that is that there's like a dumb AI, so it will follow, but it stops behind every time. So your detection radius is like basically on top of your army. Yeah. And every Protoss does this. I'm sure of it. I'm not the only idiot out there where this is going on. And then I'm like, fuck it. And I build 3, and I have 2 following the army, and I have 1 hotkeyed to the army. But every fight is, here come the Golden Armada. And the first thing is an observer going, meow, it just dies. And you're like, well, 75 gas, that's fine.
And then the Tempest, and this is maybe where like other Terrans will throw trash at me, but I think the movement speed had to be decreased. I didn't think the acceleration had to be touched. It was already like the best point about it was that at least it didn't get to escape like before Vikings got a shot at it.
And it was responsive to micro, which is it rewards the higher end, right? Like the better control you have it with acceleration, the better it will perform.
Yeah. So I don't know. No.
Can we talk about dumb AIs real quick too? Just putting this out there. This is my Nathanius moment. When you hotkey a mothership to a Tempest army, I understand what it's doing because it has short range weaponry, but it still is one of the most aggravating things I've seen in my entire life. And the alternative is to tell it to follow the Tempest or to hotkey it separately. But now we're talking about a Protoss player that has multiple units on different hotkeys, and I haven't had to do that since, well, basically the F2 key was invented, or the A move, in early 1990s. So let's try to shy away from that, Blizzard, if you can help me get that AI smarter. Or to give it longer range. Yeah, exactly. Matt's got a great point there. Let's just double the range of the weaponry on the mothership. I think that's something we can lobby for. All right, so that is the community update. Thank you for hanging out with that. If you have any thoughts, let us know in the comments. Make them nice. Otherwise, I will ignore it and call you a poo-poo head. Okay, so next topic. I don't even know what it is. The big reveal. Beater, burp, burp, burp. No, not the general stuff, Cobra. We're already done with that. Well, that is the next one. It's just the patch notes.
Yeah, just the actual patch, like the ones they released yesterday, which is basically the same.
It's the same thing.
Well, there was also an update to my name, which is very.
They did. Your name is in there. That's really cool.
I made the patch notes.
Oh, hold on.
That's pretty cool.
So I was gonna
highlight of my life.
I was gonna jokingly bring up the eggs no longer blocking hatcheries, although a lot of people are really happy about that. But the one really cool thing is that now GameHeart has an option not to show skins to players.
That was massive. I'm so interested to find out if they're going to actually allow skins now to be shown on the broadcast for WCS.
Yeah.
It's a big deal, but it's not much to talk about.
But of course, that begs the question: will there even be a WCS? So we'll have to wait and see. Answers later, guys. Speaking of WCS, the next topic, of course, is that IEM Katowice has had its qualifiers, or most of them. Has it had all of them?
Yeah, all of them. All of them are done.
All of them.
Tuesday.
So we know who's going.
Mm-hmm.
They've been taking place. We have. Well, I'm not gonna list all these guys, but you can see it on the screen there for our podcast people. Indie Starcraft did qualify, defeating Neeb in the finals of the USA one. No, I'm just kidding. Patience, Innovation, and Maru qualified from NA. Special, Neeb, Euthermal from EU. They joined the WCS 2018 Global Champion Cyril. And we had Dark, Bunny, Zest, TY, and Rogue from Korea. These are some big names. It's one of the, I mean, when I say one of the, people put this up there with BlizzCon. This is like just behind BlizzCon, and for some people it might even be on par with BlizzCon in terms of like the premier tournament of the year. We're going to see all the other players make their way there into that open bracket. I'm sure of it. Like, I'm not seeing Showtime on this list. You bet your butt he'll be in Poland trying to do battle. But this is coming up. This is a pretty big deal. Did you guys follow these qualifiers? I think some of you commentated them, actually, right?
I commentated
That's
all
right.
of them.
Zombie, talk about it, man. What'd you do?
Well, I opened up OBS and
Thanks a lot, Zombie. Next segment, guys. That's
it was really good. I mean, there's tons of complaints when WCS started interfering with their qualifiers because people get confused about what qualifier was what.
Yeah.
But as expected, the Koreans took over North America because they ended up being on the Korean server anyways. Past the round of like 32. And I think the one really cool performance is that Bunny is once again being like, oh, is he the next best Terran? Because he had that going on last year for a month as well. Patience suddenly is like gone from he's even playing that much anymore to beating out amazing names. He went through the winners bracket, and then Euthermal was able to break his streak of always getting to the like very close to qualifying and then losing the losers bracket. He broke it. He's finally going to be there.
It is funny. We covered this a couple episodes ago, but Artos is getting the biggest kick out of. And then for the EU qualifier, Special and Neeb do qualify alongside Euthermal. So
Special qualified from Korea on the European server.
Yeah.
Qualifier. That's
pretty
impressive.
Silly. Neeb, who is like the USA champion, qualifies via the European one. So whatever. I mean, these players are bouncing around a little bit. I'm just happy with the list of names. These are some great guys, and then you're going to be seeing again other big names join them as they fight through the brackets. So Katowice is coming up. There is no, I think it's worth mentioning this. No announcement of talent or commentators yet, because people will be asking a whole bunch, and it is coming up. Expect to see that probably a day or maybe the day of for IEM Katowice for who will be commentating it. And then I can just tell you I'm amped. This is a big event. This is I'm excited. And this time I have an up-to-date passport. So maybe I'll even be there. Next topic is WCS Winter, which is next week, by the way. It's next week. This is our first WCS stop. It's a little bit different. It's offline, or online, excuse me. It's online. There's been some qualifiers, and we've had some controversy. So we'll talk about that now as well. This tournament will be played out almost entirely online. I think the final 4 are going to go down to Burbank.
Six.
Final 6. 6.1? Is it 6.1 players? It's not. Yeah. Because you can't do that, because that's not a real number. It doesn't actually have any impact on any. We had some players qualify via the ladder. Actually, who wants to handle the drama on this? Does anyone know this really well? Ravi, I feel like you're the kind of guy that knows this really well.
I mean, I know this decently well, but like, I don't know. It's just,
well, decently well is PylonShow code for extremely well. If you know it decently well, you know it. But you're an expert.
It's I don't know. Like, to me, I didn't actually find it like as interesting as a lot of other people did, because to me this is like the standard. Oh, there was a ladder qualifier that people tried to cheat in because they were like throwing games. So there was like this one account which people trace back and like did hockey analysis and everything. It looks like some of the Taiwanese, or sorry, not Taiwanese, Chinese players. I actually am forgetting now, but basically some of the players from like that region were laddering on this account to level it up. It's an account that usually is sitting around like almost 500 to like 1,000 MMR lower than it actually was.
Yeah.
And it was beating NA players, but immediately forfeiting like 0-second games to any of the Chinese or like Taiwanese players. And I'm saying Taiwanese, but it's really just one of them. I just can't remember which one.
It's on screen right now. It's a huge breakdown. We're not going to read this whole thing. What I will say is that it was really nice how fast Blizzard responded to this. And then I think the way that the Chinese players involved responded was also admirable. Their team spoke out about it. The players themselves said, sorry, yep, I can see why that's controversial and wrong. We apologize. We won't do it again. It's actually all handled very professionally. But I do want to put this out there, and I'm sure no one listening, this won't be pertinent to them, but in the off chance maybe one of our young players coming up does hear this. This took like 10 minutes. There are weird people out there who are watching things like hawks, anything on the internet. And I've been around a long time, and every time someone cheats or ladder cheats like this, maybe there's people that got away. I'm sure there's people that got away with it and they weren't caught. But man, this guy went deep. These people dug in deep. They compared replays. They compared hotkeys. They looked at timing of leaving games, timing of joining games. They asked friends. They got logs. Like, there is so many Dick Tracys out there. There are so many people that will get into this and find out the truth. Don't do it. It's not worth it. And when the Chinese players were caught, their stories were really sad, because a couple of them were just like, yeah, I was towards the bubble and I really wanted to make sure I got a win. I think it was Cyan or somebody. They went for one win. They just logged in, got one free win, and that's all they did. And that is, in the eyes of everyone involved, that's huge cheating for that one win. So just don't do it. I think that's common sense for everybody, but hopefully this is another example.
Can I back up what you're saying and say that you will get caught? Because I do ladder heroes, and the like bottom prize, actually back in the day, like even when the prize pool for ladder heroes was like $20, like $20 for like the entirety of second place, and like first place was $30. I had players spending like 3 hours being like, hey, I put together 3 hours of research because I think this person is throwing games or like trying to boost their MMR up. And I'm like, oh,
for
okay.
$20.
Yeah, I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. You will get caught no matter what. I never had to do almost anything because there was always like, I constantly just had reports from players being like, this person's doing something shady.
Yep.
You will not get away with it.
So this happened, but like I said, I was pretty proud of everyone involved, including those that were cheating. I thought the way they handled being caught was very admirable. Not that they're, I mean, I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but believe me, there's people that don't handle it very well. These guys all were like, yep, we were wrong. Sorry, we'll do better. So at the end of the day, it ends up not being super that big of a deal because of how well it was handled. But this competition is coming up. So some people who may or may not be on the show will be heading down to Burbank in the next week to commentate this and bring the show to you. Just like the Burbank studio did last year for Challenger, which was some great broadcasts. You're going to be able to enjoy this event through that. And it's starting, is it Thursday next week?
Yep.
Thank you, Barrison. Barrison says it is Thursday. So yeah. I don't know if we know times and stuff like that, but it'll be on the Starcraft channel, and I'm sure in the next week you'll hear more about it. So some great content coming up. We good with that? Anybody want to add anything else? It's also a long event, by the way. It's a different format that way too, right? It's like several weeks.
Yeah.
I think the second group stage starts after IEM Katowice in April, maybe even. Yeah, in March. In March.
Isn't like Zombie Grub and Fear? You guys are like moving down to Burbank for a few weeks around this time as well. You guys are gonna hang out there.
Yeah, I didn't really put those two and two together, but yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah,
Not seeing any news.
we might have to watch from like.
That's cool. I'll have to
place,
stop by and see your guys' living space, and then we can all just hang out in Burbank at the same time as this event.
It'd be fun.
Yeah.
Sleepovers.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, next topic. Moving right along. No?
Yeah.
Matt might have fallen asleep. There it is. Okay. I'm just kidding. He's obviously... Every time I make a Matt joke, he's such a nice guy that I feel like I have to backtrack 100 feet. And like... the funny thing too is when I don't backtrack, because Matt's such a nice guy, there's always someone who's like, Jeff, you leave Matt alone, by the way, you big bully. And I'm like, dude, that's cool. Matt's going to have his own little cult that rises up and chops me into little pieces and eats me. So this is the DeepMind thing. And I mostly just want to get your guys' comments on this in terms of what you know, what you're excited about. I'm only going to kind of loosely introduce this and talk about how it's happening tomorrow so that we can dive deeper into it when Artosis returns from hosting this. So they got Artosis, and then to make sure and get some European representation, they got the Warcraft 3 former professional player turned into Gym Rising fodder in Rotterdam. Because he can kind of identify with that European scene just a little bit better than the rest of us. They will be your hosts for what's to happen tomorrow at, I believe it said 6 p.m. And here's all the information. Yeah, 6 p.m. GMT. So if you have the show notes, you can click on these links. There's the Twitter from DeepMind AI. As you can see, it's a pretty big deal, you guys. So DeepMind will be giving a demonstration of its StarCraft stuff. We heard a lot about this at the summit, but we could not talk about it. And what's really exciting is as time goes on, it is literally learning and literally evolving. And I'm going to share, I want to say one thing, and maybe I'm not supposed to, but I think this is so cool that it's worth getting fired for. DeepMind is playing more games of StarCraft, I believe, if you guys correct me, I thought we heard this, than the rest of the world combined. Isn't that what I heard?
Yeah, I think this is what I heard as well.
Cannot confirm or deny that.
You didn't hear that?
Oh, I didn't hear that. Maybe, man.
Well, that's
Cannot
fine.
confirm or deny that I heard that.
You guys can fire me. That's cool. I'll start, I'll make XCOM content. We'll have an XCOM talk show called, I don't know what you'd call it. It'd be a shitty show. Anyways, that's happening tomorrow. And like I said, there's the stuff you can click on. Artosis will be there in Rotterdam. You guys got any words on that real quick?
I'm super pumped about this. For me, like, I'm especially excited because there was like a 2.5 year period where I really, because I'm a software developer, I like study computer science in school and everything.
Yeah.
And when I was in school, I was like, I'm going to become an AI developer. Like, I'm going to learn how, and I got super into it and everything. And then I realized I actually wasn't smart. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do something else instead. But like, AI is super crazy exciting. Like, the whole machine learning thing is really cool. And for those who don't know, like, you see all the probot stuff and everything in the This Week in StarCraft. While obviously that's not like, hey, this is super duper professional, like Google or whatever, like people who developed AlphaGo and everything, putting together this AI, it's obviously different. The same tool set is being used. So if you want to see like what the AI is working with, they have different visualization tools and stuff that they show, like, oh, this is what the AI actually has access to. This is what the AI can actually see. So it'll just create a better understanding for you guys, like that it's not just like super easy. Oh, the AI is just going to have like 1 million APM and stuff. No, they have to do like proper control group management and everything. It's so cool to me. I love it.
It's really interesting. So that'll be fun. Well, and like I said, we're just kind of we're just breaching it. Hopefully, you guys will check it out. But next week's Pylon show, they'll dive deeper into it. So now we're going to get into the guest roundtable topics. I think this is kind of a new thing that our producers came up with, and I think it's a really wonderful idea. And we asked our guests, is there anything you in particular want to talk about? One of the first ones I saw was Zombie Grub, and this is a little bit backtracking. Brought up that the qualifiers were a mixed bag, right? There was NA players playing on Europe and Asia. There was Korean players playing on NA. There was Australian players in NA. It was a little bit different. A little bit different. So, what were you got to commentate these qualifiers, Zombie. What kind of, how'd you feel about this?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we like hit some of the names. Like for IEM, I think people mostly expected the Europeans. Darn it, the Koreans.
Yeah.
With the one takeaway that like maybe Europe was more foreigners, so that's good, even though they weren't European foreigners, except the thermal.
Yeah.
WCS, I think, is where like things really get interesting. So I think what's more interesting to talk about is the follow-up thing I had, which I guess Fear Dragon also would want to talk about. But the fact that like we expect Europe had some good names, so I guess I'll start off with that. Europe had some good names that showed up that, they have an entire 32 player bracket. They have 3 qualifiers of their own European scene, which we would consider Europe as, when you say Europe, you consider all the countries you think of. That's what you think of. That is correct. And then they had the 8 from the ladder qualifiers. So that's 32 people. Some people made it in that were not really heard of, right? Like Strange or some other Soul Spirit, I think was one of the guys.
Soul Spirit.
Yeah, so they had some good names that you haven't heard of, but that's because they have 32 spots that all go to them. This is where the more interesting topic comes up. It's that America was very specifically called WCS Americas because it's not really America. They're very, very much so not North America.
Yeah.
They were Americas, and then somehow they squeezed in like China and Asia in the.
So these are
China,
Nathanius'
Taiwan,
Americas.
Australia,
Yes.
Americas.
Yes. So we had this weird thing where like there was 2 qualifiers for Americas, including like the what used to be Copa America, including what used to be the C, Australian stuff, including I want to say some Asian countries like Japan. Yeah, because SIARC maybe. Well, anyways.
SIARC.
And then they had like one specific qualifier. So there's 2 of those American ones, and one that was like on the Taiwanese server.
Okay.
That was a super weird hour that went to them. So
and then China had a qualifier that only Chinese
there you
players play in.
Yes, and that happened before even the start of the first American qualifier. So basically the topic that I think is interesting is that America has always kind of been the like, well, we'll just lump something in over there. And I think it's been talked about on past Pylon shows of like 8 spots being taken away from North America. Now it's a higher number than that. It's 16 spots are taken away, and even more because what we would usually consider North American qualifiers is no longer just that. So
let me play a little bit devil's advocate. I don't even necessarily disagree with you. I think what's been kind of the harsh reality of the history of StarCraft is that, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate, so please no one jump down my throat, but like the players from the Americas that deserve to go is a lot less than the European or Asian scenes. So giving them the full and exact same amount as Korea or Europe seems sure fair, but when it's Neeb, Special, Puck probably, who then loses in the first competitive round, unfortunately. And I love Puck, I'm a Puck fan, but like it hasn't happened otherwise. And then like 2 other players, and then the rest is filled out with like all of our hopefuls that we get really excited about but have never performed, right? Is that the better show? Is that just in the name of fairness, is that a better tournament?
So it's really actually Fear Dragon, you go first.
It's a great question, and I do think that this kind of goes back to like exactly the phrasing you use, better show. And to me, I think the better show is like, and this is where I get a little bit unfair, and I kind of like I say like, oh, why don't you just do this, even though this would obviously require more money and stuff. But to me, the thing that I hate about this the most, and this is like as the NA apologist that loves NA more than anything else, it's not actually NA that I feel is bad for. I feel bad for like C. I feel bad for Taiwan. I feel bad for like a lot of these other regions, because when we had last year like Challenger and stuff, we got to see a bunch of this regional stuff going on, and I love that. I actually watched like a bunch of the like C region challenger, and I love seeing a lot of the names that you don't normally get to see. I loved watching like Demi Love trying to like make this run through and like being this player, blah blah blah, like that was finally able to like make a good run and everything. I love watching all that stuff, and I feel like now it's just going to be like, okay, well, here are 5 regions all put together. This isn't really regional competition anymore. It's just like a tournament that we're banning Europeans and Koreans from.
But and again, I don't disagree with anything you said. I think what's interesting, and this is a problem I feel like on the organizational level, IEM Katowice is not a world championship. It's not a WCS stop. It's not a national thing. It's a tournament where you hold qualifiers. And I think where this gets muddled is when you add the nations to the names of the qualifiers. I would just host one in Korea because, and by the way, that is what happened, right? Anyone could have played in the Korean one. There's no residency that's required. And then I would hold one on the NA server, and I would not call it the Americas. I would say the NA server qualifier, which obviously favors the NA regional people. But if I'm from Timbuktu and that's just where I happen to be playing, then that's cool too. And then I would host a European one. And again, my problem with this is that's functionally what happened. But we get into this weird discussion where they're like, well, why are the C players incorporated there? And then it shrinks down their chances. And that's a real problem, right? For a tournament that doesn't care about nations. There's not 20 guaranteed Koreans and 20 North American and 20 European. It's whoever qualified from wherever.
So yeah, exactly. Like that is the weird thing that happened where it was anyone could play. That's another actually really weird thing to me. And again, this comes from the NA apologists, and I love North America, but like the Americas, i.e. Like North and South America, got 2 of their qualifiers on US West, and Australia and the whole C region just got nothing. They didn't get any qualifiers on on Australia server, which is like, that's another weird thing to me. I'm like, wait, so I thought that you were trying to split it up between the different regions. And then China's like its own thing. So China has like these exclusive tournaments that only they can play on, which I guess makes sense because the Chinese server is like impossible to get access to and stuff. So like I kind of get it, but it's so confusing and weird. Like, and there's like a bunch of things I don't like about it.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm going to go ahead and ask someone in the chat says you don't know what you're talking about. Am I wrong? Did Katowice say it's a world championship? National?
Well, okay, so I'm confused as well. We were talking about the WCS qualifier.
Yeah.
So
we're talking about Katowice?
No,
we're talking.
No, so IEM only had, they had their server region qualifiers, which is only the server.
We are definitely talking about the wrong thing. IEM, not even we.
Yeah. So I thought what your point.
They're so nice because I'm totally talking about the wrong tournament, and I gave this really impassioned thing, and one guy's like, "You're talking about the wrong tournament," and instead of being like, "Jeff, I hate you," thank you. And you guys are such nice hosts. And look at Igor not changing. He didn't even. Nobody said anything. Just let Jeff talk.
I was switching between tabs. Is he talking about this or that? What
I
is
thought
this?
he was saying that WC would be like IEM.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't understand English anymore.
No, you guys are all nice. There's a lot of flipping screens and stuff like that. I have my excuses, but okay. So let me revamp then, I guess. Obviously, with WCS Winter, it does matter where you play from, and that does become an issue. I guess what would be the right answer is what I'm saying, right? So every region has their 1 or 2 good players, but you can't look at Australia and go, their meta changes a whole bunch. I'm not even going to list the top 2 good players, but there's like now only 1 or 2 good players from Australia. But you don't say, we're giving you 1 or 2 spots and here's your own designated qualifier, because then you get a guy with a battle axe and a 6-foot-long beard that shows up and he absolutely gets destroyed at WCS Winter.
So I guess.
So what's the better show? Is it that you give the more fair qualifiers for these regions that don't have that many good players? Or is it that you say, hey, you're all crammed into one place, which is going to favor other players? Look at me getting back on topic, by the way. And then that's the better show. That's not fair. So what do we prioritize, fairness or better show?
So this is what I was going to say, and let Fear Dragon go, and then that whole thing happened. But it's funny, and this is a little more broader than it is helpful. It's just a commentary, I suppose. But the exact argument that Europeans, and what you're kind of saying right now about how, like, well, the Europeans say that they have more people who are better skilled, so they should get all the spots that they have, and that's kind of in line with the whole, like, is it a better show? Is that was the exact same thing that people said when people were talking about Koreans being allowed in WCS.
Yep.
And everyone who was, no, keep the Koreans in every single tournament possible. Otherwise, you get these no names. It's not worth the potential regional support. Like, we're wrong. They were just wrong. I was
Yeah.
one of them. I was wrong. I thought the Koreans gone would have been like, what am I going to watch now? And instead,
Right.
we built up storylines in Europe, and Europe happened to get a lot of propelled, like, experience and practice because the Koreans actually had to move to them, and we're talking about history and so far long ago and whatever. And North America has just continued to just be like kicked in the gut the entire time. Like, first of all, the tournaments were there. Then we didn't have any Koreans there because we made the system so they could still play on the Korean server. And now we're making you guys share everything.
Yeah.
It's just, there is no right answer, which is why I said that's not really a helpful commentary as much as it's just a point to be made. But it does suck. And I think what Fear Dragon brought up is more of a helpful, like, poignant point, which is, if they wanted to really make NA this, like, just, okay, everyone has to be here because what else are we going to do? I would want it so that at least Australia would have their own server. Like, at least make it so that if China gets their own server qualifier, then so does Australia. And then it does feed into America, like what they did before, but now with the new system. At least that would make some sense, right?
I hear you. And
Mike-
as long as I'm understanding, which I'm now going to question for the rest of my life because I literally talked about a completely different tournament in the middle of my own segment. But Australia, I don't want to see 5 players from Australia qualify, right? They have their own qualifier. Are you saying there's a filter so they qualify for another qualifier?
Well, exactly how China did it. So in this,
But China has better players. I'd be interested in 5 Chinese players.
I think you'd be interested in 5 Australian players. Like, well, you could be interested is the thing, though, right? Just like you could have been interested in the European players. Did you care about anyone from Sweden? Oh, actually, no, there's not anyone.
Jess, name 5 Australian players you want to watch play StarCraft right now.
I guess Ether,
10 seconds.
Igus?
Probe.
Pearson, stop. Who'd you say?
I mean, I guess doesn't really play anymore, but I liked him.
Igus, who currently, as far as I know, is like in Australian Team League matches that Maynard commentates. You want to see him?
Yeah, and also Australia actually had a very nice LAN going on. Like, Maynard's probably going to be better at talking about this than I am, but as far as I understood it, their challenger last year was actually kind of good.
It was
I mean,
awesome.
We had a comparison to Overwatch contenders, for instance, and they did better than them in the Australian.
Hang on, for the podcast, everybody, let me list this. This is an Australian. He's part of my community. I love this guy. Here's his list: Probe, Seether, Igas, Hut, and Pez. Did anyone get excited when I say that?
Yes,
Anybody at
yes.
all?
That's
Me right here. I got
that's the
excited
root of
about
the
all of those guys. They're all
Okay,
awesome.
But that is the root
qualified
of the
for WCS
problem.
Winter.
Is that, like, the same reason why, like, the bottom 16 North Americans aren't talked about either. Like, can you bring up more than 10 North Americans?
I'm not afraid of that argument. I agree with it. You don't give 10 spots to Americans either. After 4 or 5, it becomes absolute dog
So
tier
then what is the point of having the regions then? So basically, it's just like for the past 9 years of StarCraft, I guess Europe and Korea dominated. Sorry, NA.
No.
Is that your argument?
I like the WCS system that we have right now, which is there are restrictions, so it makes it so that there's more foreigners. And with that little bit of change, we've seen some real growth. And we've seen players have inspiration because before it was the other direction, right? Of the 7 qualified or 8, it would be 7 Koreans and 1 non. That's too skewed. So I hear the argument you're making, and I can see myself saying, and that's why, again, I'm not saying no Australians. I'm just saying you don't give them equal is my problem.
Okay.
You don't look at every region and say, because you're a country or a place, you have the same number as China or Poland or Europe and like, that doesn't make any sense to me because that's a shitty show. Igas is hilarious, and I love the guy, and I love his commentary, but do I want to see Igas taken on Showtime in the first round of 32? Ooh.
Do you want to see Jon Snow? I mean, we all know.
Equally no. That's not my argument. I'm not saying...
Wow.
Bang.
Jon Snow doesn't want to see that match, by the way.
It's
didn't
okay.
handle that
So right,
conversation.
we're kind of getting to extremes, right? Where we both agree that there is a balance. But I think.
But I want to imbalance what I'm saying. A reasonable one, right? So Australia, 2 slots. America, 4.
the more you talk about it, the more you sound like you wish Koreans could also play in NA. It's like that would be the best show. Because you know those players the most, and they design the best games.
It's like she's reading my mind. No, my only thing is I every time this argument comes up where people are like, Australians might, and by the way, and I've said this, and let me say it now because I'm doing a lot of hating. Australians are the nicest, best people in the world, and they're my favorite people. And that's why I'm comfortable spending an hour hating on them, because I know that they'll still love me afterwards somehow. Whereas if I talked smack about Poland, I'd have they'd email me shit cookies for like a year. Like I'd get some real bad hate. But the Australian scene's at a place where I don't want to see the fourth, fifth, and sixth best Australian at a land. Like it seems really silly. And the argument doesn't change when someone's like, do you want to see the seventh best American? No, I don't. Because I don't think they deserve it either. But I do want to see the eighth best European, because that guy is incredibly good.
But here's the thing to me is that I don't think it has to be like this exact system where there's a specific number of players that qualify for this, like WCS Winter, from every single region. It's all like all the qualifiers are like that. I think it'd be perfectly fine. And this is where my big problem is. I really loved how Challenger worked, and see Challenger, we didn't have the broadcast at the Burbank studio. It'd be awesome if the Australia, I know that they had the studios in Maynard and Pig and Zeph were doing the finals for Challenger and stuff there, I think. But even just having online broadcasts for, let's say that those qualifiers turned into an online section. And I'd actually even be okay if the WCS Americas finals broadcast stuff and that was broadcast in the Burbank studio with the offline 6, whatever. I would be okay if that had a smaller prize pool, but then each one of these regions had their own regional competition. Right now, there's no regional competition because everyone can play in every qualifier. There's no chance for these Australians or whatever that are trying to come up in the scene to feel like they can make any impact, because it's okay, well, let me just go play versus Neeb in one of the first rounds of my
this is the problem, is I make arguments and then people take it and misunderstand it and manipulate it. I am not arguing that Australia should have no spots. I'm telling you that Australia should have fewer spots than another nation that has earned more. And so far the arguments that people are making are like, Jeff, that's not fair, because in Australia there's some good players. I'm like, yes, I agree. Are there less good players in Australia than Europe? Is there anyone that's going to tell me no? Because the threshold that needs to be argued here is that more spots deserve to be there simply to inspire them to be better. My argument is a country that's producing, or an area that's producing better players, should get more slots because there's more people deserving.
So
Why is that wrong?
Where it really came down is not your comparison to Europe, actually. It was your comparison to China, because Chad has just been talking nonstop.
Non-unique. China has more better players than Australia as well.
But I think people can disagree on that now. And I think they'd be right. Time is the only one who's done anything prominent recently. Every other Chinese player that you could certainly name would probably be in their highlight
qualifies
years.
And Has is actually the best player in the world, says Artosis. So GG,
and Haas.
checkmate.
But besides that, are they just names that you remember from 3 years ago? Or are they actually
Here's the
good
thing.
still?
You just use a technique that I use, so I'm going to excuse it. You exaggerated my perspective, and I love you for that. No, I'm not just filtering names I remember 3 years ago.
No, but you use the same question to me, and I'm using it to you. Are there?
Yeah.
Is China actually better than Australia right now? I think there is actually an argument there. Not that it's the most important argument anyways.
Is Tude Ming, are these players better than Pez or Hut, a guy named after a pizza place? Is that what you're asking?
I guess we would never know. We've never seen them compete against each other.
Fear Dragon put together China versus Australia.
I actually would happily do that. And
let's do that.
Bet on Australia. I'm not gonna lie.
Let's please do that somehow.
Shane Rarmer says they'll drop 100. We can crowdsource that. We'll put it together. Here's the thing. We need to make sure the Chinese don't cheat, and we need to make sure the Australians are sober. But if we can get this together and make this happen, this might be the best NA show match we've ever had, because they both play on our server. Because they don't have their own.
But disregarding all of this anyways, I think what I was anticipating when I brought up the whole Australian needs its qualifier into WCS thing was actually 2 spots. That's actually what I was thinking of, which fits the...
Yeah.
So you agree with me?
Australians you could... Which literally seems like it fits the amount of Australians you can think of perfectly.
And here's the thing, Jeff, for me also, I was not disagreeing on how many spots I think should go into say WCS Winter. All I'm saying is I want a preface tournament that's just for the Australian server. And that if WCS Winter had less of a prize pool, and then that smaller like preface had some other, I guess, like broadcasting and stuff, that would be cool. Because like it's not even necessarily like, oh, you need this massive like $50,000 prize pool for the entirety of just Australian stuff. Just having something there so that they can get results, I think is
well. I don't disagree either, and I think what's nice about it is the Australian currency is such shit. It's like $100 could probably get us together a pretty big tournament for them. 100 USD. I think that's like 12 million rubles or whatever it is in Australia. Someone in the chat, is it? What do you guys use? Seashells? What do you barter with? It's just puka shells. I thought that might have been last year though. I'm kidding. I love all you guys. At the end of the day, I think what's interesting about this is that nobody's wrong, because the counter argument to what I was saying is the more slots you give, the more obtainable it is to be better at the game, and then it's more inspiring to try and qualify for that, right? Whereas if it is just 2 spots and they obviously go to the 2 better players in that region, then that's the problem we had a few years ago, where you don't see a reason to play StarCraft right now, especially if they're open to having Koreans or people from other regions come in and play. So it's definitely something in the middle. This is a great debate. I do want to reiterate, though, that at the entire time, Zombie Grub agreed with me. The entire time. And I don't know what to do with that, because I did not know it the entire time. Igor, your thoughts real quick.
Thanks always this discussion. No problem.
You come from Poland where there's like 12 good players, and you guys have always had to battle.
Yeah, there are 3 main ones, obviously, Naturelas and Mana.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's always this discussion, right? Who should get more spots, etc. And actually, I think the current system is like fair if you think about the Blizzard's budget, because they're not gonna host everywhere the qualifiers, obviously, especially now that Blizzard has some troubles with the stock.
Yeah.
So I think we have to take what we have, and actually, I like the format of the tournament, because when people have to travel, all that stuff, they get jet lag, they get stressed, blah blah blah. Now they play online, so this new format is like good positive side, I would say, because you don't have to deal with the stress.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just gonna take a minute. I don't usually do this, but someone banned him for me. Very good. Maynard did, actually. Good day, Mike. Anyways, I actually really enjoy debates. It's I think it's fun. We all care a lot about this, and at the end of the day, that discussion is the marketplace for ideas. And also, I want to default back to the fact that I said devil's advocate the entire time. Granted, I was talking about a different tournament, but I think it still applies even on this topic. So good talk. Now we'll get into a section that I think we're going to gloss over pretty quick, because this is usually where Artosis shines. The GSL Code A qualifiers are coming. They've already happened, so at least part of it. January 17th, there was some. And then the 23rd, which is today, there will be more. 24th. So Code A qualifiers are happening. That's awesome. This is something that people were a little bit worried about because it had been announced fairly late, but this is it's happening. You guys excited?
Yeah, of course I'm excited. But what do you mean they already happened?
Yeah.
GSL qualifier application forms should be sent to GSL at africatv.com by January 17th. Online qualifiers will be held for 2 days on January 23rd and January 24th. So that's tonight, I assume. So no, they haven't already happened, but they're starting like right now.
Cool.
Tonight.
Yeah, that's exciting, but it's still a big old bummer that they refuse to let anyone easily stream it.
Yeah. Seems like a weird
Still a
choice.
mystery. Yeah, it's still a mystery.
We got ourselves a GSL at the beginning of this year, though, everyone. So that's something to be happy about. And when Artosis comes back to the show, we can talk all about it, and it'll be after the qualifiers. We'll get to cover that. Topic 6, Brood War updates. ASL Season 7 qualifiers. This did take place on January 13th. And you can see some results there on the screen. Best Snow, Larva winning their groups.
Well,
pretty cool.
Best thing about that was Nada used nukes.
Nada used nukes, but didn't qualify, though. So is it cool?
Yes.
It's cool if you win, I think.
No,
it's so cool.
It's cool he didn't get dead last.
It's cool that he even played. Nada's like he's been a little bit out of it for a while, and he's one of the actual absolute gods of the game. So it's really fun to even say that name. Hopefully he sticks at it and shows up some more as well. But my favorite player, Tinkle, actually went 0-2 in his group, so I'm a little bit disappointed that we don't get to talk more about that.
It's really
this will be just I don't think any of the panelists on the show have watched any Brood War, so this is me just saying this is going on.
Oh, I watched the finals of Flash that he won, like the first, second, and third. Yeah, I'm waiting for Flash to come back from the injury and win 3 more. Like it's
Yeah.
nothing. He's gonna do
Well,
that.
Well,
Yeah.
I have nada to say about this.
Shut up, Fear Dragon.
God.
Soxcree's a StarCraft 2 player, so Fear Dragon knows that much about Brood War.
Hey, I have a stork jacket.
I'm still recovering from the Nada comment. Dan will be back next week for our Brood War fans that are excited about some deep analysis about this. He'll be excited to talk about it. He actually went to a couple of qualifiers too. If you follow him on Twitter, he talked a little bit about that over the, I think it was close to the Christmas break, but that's really, really cool. Obviously, Dan did not qualify, but the fact that he's willing to get out there and combat and try is admirable and awesome. So I believe that does it for our main topics on the show, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it looks like I'm being told that is true. We do have an AFKT update, and then I'll get into the Patreon questions, and then we'll tell you about these co-hosts of mine, and we'll sign off on episode 35. So AFKT is, I'll just read it. It's from the horse's mouth. They had a few delays. Another T sold out faster than we could restock it, and then customs held it up for a while. Lycan also refunded 10% additional across the board in shipping, even international shipping. Those orders have gone out. We wanted to give you a heads up in case there are any disgruntled customers. Most of the feedback has been very positive. So that's Lycan managing that tea stuff. If you're one of the people that ordered tea and there's some kind of mishap, definitely talk to him about it. I don't handle that at all, but this is just his box, his soapbox, if you will, to get it out there. But so far it's going great, and you guys are buying up tea, so thank you very much. And then just as usual, we'll kind of end with saying, check out our Matcherino. We've got some fun ideas. Matt and I were thinking up some stuff. We really enjoyed our show match with Zombie Grub and Rifkin last season, and we've got some ideas on how to kind of get some more stuff like that involved moving forward, but you'll be hearing about it. Right now, the code for our Matcherino is PIE 2019. So if you type that in, you will help us out by filling up that Matcherino goal, and we can do some more fun stuff. If you hear snoring, that's actually Cobra Venom in the background. He passed out. No, I'm just kidding. It's my dog. It's my dog every time. All right, so that's it. Let's get into a couple of these questions on the Patreon.
I'm very excited.
You are? There's
That's my
some good
favorite
ones.
portion.
Is it your favorite part?
Yeah.
Fair enough. We want to go to the top here, Cobra. I thought that's not the top. There it is. All right. GG Emily, to anyone who wants one place in the world you haven't visited yet that you'd really want to go before you die. Got a little bit dark there at the end. Oh, kitty cat. I'm going to go with you, Igor, first. Where in the world have you not been, but you want to go before you die, Igor?
Before I die?
Before you,
Like,
not after, not during.
Okay, not after. Right.
Yeah.
Thank God we got this clear. I think just basically the place where, clear water, sun, that's it. Like,
Okay.
I don't know, Malaysia or Bora Bora or anything like this.
Beautiful exotic place.
Yeah.
All right, I like that. What about you guys? Jess, Fear Dragon, what do you think?
Australia.
I do want to visit Australia, but before, like, I've had to go to one more place I have not been to before I die. It'd probably be Greece.
Yeah, some of those places in Greece, it looks fake, like how beautiful the water is and the beach and just everything looks insane.
Yeah.
Ravi, back to India, right? Your
God,
48-hour trip to
God. Never again. Except for this year. No, it's without a doubt it's New Zealand. My entire family and a bunch of our family friends took a trip to New Zealand during a BlizzCon, which of course I'm not going to miss BlizzCon.
Right.
But they were sending me photos that they were just taking on their phone the entire time. And I still don't regret going for BlizzCon, but oh my God, I'm so sad I missed that trip. It actually felt like they were just sending me like Windows wallpapers, like the default wallpapers.
Yeah.
This is beautiful.
It's insane. And that's a really good backtrack from the hate you were giving Australia earlier too. So it's nice. It bounces out there.
Exactly.
It's the same for me. I would add Italy, I guess. I've never been to Italy, but I've always really enjoyed the historical importance of Italy during the Roman Empire and kind of that era, just the architecture and stuff. But also, apparently they make a lot of pasta there. And if I could, I would die in a pool of pasta. I would just consume it all and just eat it all up. So yeah, thank you very much for that question. The next one, and I'm just going to take this opportunity to kind of remind you guys, it is... Ooh, okay. Nice save, Cobra. I will answer this, but I do want to kind of give a reminder. Keep the questions shorter, if you could, please. Moving forward, that would be the best way to get your question answered. 300 character or less is ideal. When you write a small book, it's hard for us to keep track of that and answer it. But in this case, Astrofin, I will do it just for you, you sweet, sweet, delicious man. Or woman, or sentient Labrador, I don't know. In the context of StarCraft 2, specifically, would you rather have top-tier mechanics / decision-making, perhaps that of Cyril in 2018, or maybe just whoever you think is the best player historically, but only be able to have one type of army unit on the map of at a time? For example, you can build adepts in the early game for defense / scouting / harassment, but to build a different unit, all your guys, are you paying attention? Igor, open your eyes.
It's a tough question.
This is, and it's not. I'm not
trying,
even
I'm
halfway
trying.
done. I need you to write this down. All your adepts must be killed. Units that morph from different units, Archon, Ravager, Lurker, etc., can be made, but their component units must morph immediately after being produced. This is hypothetical, so we would say the units can be built directly from the component unit's production structure. For the purpose of the question, let's also say that queens are an economy unit, but only if you build exact one per hatchery, lair / hive. Any queens produced beyond that limit are considered army units. Or be able to see your enemy's army compositions at all times, but be limited to 30 actions per minute, and any actions that put you above the limit are ignored. The army composition that you would see is a percentage of units, say 60% Zergling, 40% Roach, and you don't see the composition until the units are on the field. Again, queens would not count as any army unit at a larger of Zerglings being created, for example, would lower the queen's percentage enough to try to give away that it's a large number of Zerglings instead of, say, 4 to 6. If the answer is too one-sided, how do you think the limitations could be changed in order to make it even more even?
I like to imagine that this person listened to your show last week and was like, I know the question to ask.
Yeah,
Andy,
please,
what do
I
you
want to
think,
play.
man? Can you answer that for me, please?
Exactly. I know specifically what I want to say. Yes, please, I want to play like Cyril, have his mechanics with no training. That's it.
Yeah. Zombie Grub, what are your thoughts?
I'm gonna go with the first one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's where I find myself siding as well. Is that it's that first one for sure. Fear Dragon?
Well, first you have to break it down. Neither one of these make a difference to me because I don't think that Cyril's very good at cannon rushing. So
Yeah.
whatever. And if my opponent sees everything that's going on, I don't have over 30 APM anyways when I'm cannon rushing, and they already know it's coming because I ladder on a cannon plan. So either one of these, it doesn't really affect me.
Yeah. So guys, we love you so much, but like I said, try to keep the questions a lot shorter, and that's so detailed. That is so detailed. Please, you know. All right, thank you. Let me look through some of these other ones here. Ooh. Who would you have play you in the film of your life?
Well, again, sorry. What?
If someone made a movie about you, who would play you?
Like, I don't know how you decide that. Is it people who are like me? Is it people who look like me? People say I look like a lot of different people.
Yeah.
Freaks me out.
Well,
Especially
you're
on
being
Starcraft.
asked this, so you're apparently the producer and director of your own movie. So who do you choose?
I'd pick someone really, really cool. You know, like someone who's like a really cool character beforehand. Let's think here. Let's think. You all can go first. I'm thinking.
Yeah, so for me, I was doing my first cast ever of the bigger tournament, IEM Kiev or Berlin or something like this.
Yeah.
They called me Mr. Bean for some reason. because I was doing faces and everything. So yeah, it would
All right,
be
Mr. Bean for you.
Rowan Atkinson or something. I don't recall perfectly. Tom Cruise. No,
Okay.
that's not.
So since I'm like writing and directing this, my life is going to be an action movie
Yeah.
with like lots of up and downs, but eventually I conquer all. So I'm going to choose the most badass person I know, actress I know,
Mhm.
and that's the Resident Evil actress
Mila Jovovich.
Yep,
That's a good one.
Nice. Love it.
Fifth Element too, man.
Yeah.
Did a good job.
Exactly.
Ravi?
I'm still researching something. You can go first.
All right. We can come back to you. Another interesting question from Zeker. Do any of you have dreams/nightmares about your casting or playing StarCraft? If so, are there any interesting ones you can remember?
I remember one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I once had a dream that I cast something, and then I think it was, was it sort of or Lambo or something? I feel it was a Zerg player from Europe that they heard my cast and they went around and told every other player that I'm really overly critical of every player and that they didn't like me anymore.
Really?
Oh no.
So that was a nightmare.
That sucks.
Yeah.
The guys you guys were saying I didn't answer for the movie one. It obviously would have to be Matt Damon that plays me. Just the one I've got my whole life, I guess. Ravi, are you still researching, and do we not have an answer for you?
No. So I had to look up. So I'd want a monkey to play me.
Oh wow.
It's a blue monkey. I had to look up like different species of monkeys to settle on one. But I want like a really annoying parrot to play me that would just say random shit at the most stupid shit at the random times. I feel like that would really capture me. As for the dream thing, I have a lot of dreams. I messaged Zombie Grub Maynard and Oli Moly about my dreams a lot.
Okay.
They're quite strange. I think the last one that I can find is I had a dream that Zombie Grub and I were walking back from an event in San Francisco, but there were no sidewalks. And we ended up 3 stories up in some Asian kid's apartment, and Zombie Grub basically did like this badass jump out through the window. And I like tried to descend down the ladder, but then she kicked it so that I just like fell. And she was just laughing really hard. And I actually landed on 10 cactus.
10?
10. I specifically remember.
Jeez Louise.
So like
that would suck.
I have like 40 more of these. You can just go on.
I love that though. I love how in your dream zombie bullies you as well. You're just like, ha, kicks the ladder. Andy, you ever dream about StarCraft?
No, just the simple ones where I would beat some pro and all that stuff.
Yeah,
that's it. No funny dreams.
I've never done it, guys. I'm sorry. I don't think I've ever had a dream about casting or anything, unfortunately.
I recently had a dream where I was given 20,000 subs and I was the most popular Twitch streamer.
That would be sick.
Oh, whoa.
I mean,
how do you get people? Like, if you have like 300, you get 20,000 subs gifted. Well, where do the subs go?
It goes out. Even people that like never been to the channel, it'll do it.
It turned into a nightmare though because I couldn't get my mic to work after that.
Dang, that would. I've never had StarCraft dreams, but the ones where like technical problems happen and you can't do something, or I've had the dreams where I'm walking through mud, but it's like super mud and you can't get through it. Those are so frustrating, and you wake up and you're just like, I'm agitated now. This sucks. But no, I don't have nightmares. The funny little factoid for people listening about me: my dreams are the most mundane, boring stuff you've ever had. Like I will literally like, I attended a concert in one of my dreams recently where it was literally it was Soundgarden, and they just were playing in like a circus tent, and I just sat on a stool and listened to one song, and then I woke up and I'm like, wow, that was cool. But I do that anyways. That was my dream. I don't know.
Interesting dreams.
They're pretty boring stuff. Sometimes I'm like cleaning something. I wake up and I'm like, oh, I didn't clean that. Oh, dang. It's real though. Let's see. I had another one. I understand the majority, this is from Gunner, I understand the majority of your focus is on StarCraft 2/Blizzard, but in your eyes, how do you look back at 2018 and gaming in general? I think that's the rest of it is his journey through 2018. So I think we can just stop there. What do you guys? Gaming in 2018. Your thoughts?
He like went on to talk about how good games would be released and then there'd be bad PR. So I guess it's different context you can take this. I recently started getting back into like actual, not just Starcraft gaming, and I thought 2018 was a really, really good year for gaming. Like for games, I guess. I don't know about the companies.
The industry is getting better. I mean, bigger. So yeah, I guess it's good. I didn't fully understand the question. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a little bit specific, but it just I think you're a StarCraft only guy, so maybe this question almost doesn't even apply to you. But the question is basically, in 2018, how did you feel about gaming in general? So like game releases, politics, gender equality.
It's that there's some kind of shift toward mobile games. Not this is not Punch into Diablo Immortal, but I think the PC gaming might be getting smaller and smaller, but I don't think it will disappear fully.
Yeah. While we're answering this next question, Welder Logic, if you want to expound on the fact that your girlfriend dreamed about Zombie Grub, you can go ahead and let us know in the chat. I'll be sure to share that with the entirety of the internet. Just4 asks, with all the changes at Blizzard, Morheim now leaving early, HOTS canceled, not canceled, Hearthstone eSport lead leaving for Ubisoft, etc., should we be worried that StarCraft 2 has not announced anything past WCS Winter? I'll take that one. Yes. So next question. No, I'm just kidding. This is actually, it's like a hot topic thing. We've actually talked about it on the show a couple of times. So this is usually the kind of question I'd probably just skip over, because we specifically talked about Morheim leaving. We specifically talked about the HOTS thing. We actually have covered this at quite length. It is a little bit weird that we still have not heard more about WCS this season. There's no other way to put it. But everyone on this show, for the most part, I think will pretty confidently tell you that we so far are feeling okay. We feel good. It is unfortunate that things haven't been announced, but things are okay. Does anyone want to say differently? You can. I just thought. You're worried?
I mean, yeah, but it's like it's the general like esports worry. I mean, when don't freelancers in general worry? Usually when they have like a job and a contract and whatnot. So like, I don't want to say it's anything more than the usual. Really.
Yeah. I guess so. For me, it's not that I worry, it's that I'm wondering why this is so different from every year in the past, because it's not it's a very when they work out contracts with like DreamHack or IEM or whatever to try and find a place to house their events, it definitely runs late, but it hasn't been this late. So I'm wondering why this year that's changed, and they don't share that with us. So no one here, unless Ravi's done some really amazing, and then he couldn't share it even if he did know. For the most part, we don't have answers. I don't know about a WCS stop that's happening in August or something like that. I can't tell you that. So that is weird. I'm just confident that we have stuff coming up because I've not been told otherwise. So take that for what you will. Hopefully we're all going to be really happy moving forward, but if not, chances are we'll keep playing StarCraft, we'll keep doing content, and we'll do what we can. And then let's get a couple more here and call it a day. Oh, Alisaunder, always asking really nice personable questions. Indy, how did you meet these guys? Got any good stories that you can share? Or do you guys have stories about meeting Indy?
Well, I got lucky. That's how I met Rotterdam. I was observer for Pyeongchang qualifiers online. They had to happen in Warsaw. I live in Warsaw. So let's go, why not, right? And that's how I met Rotterdam, Todd. Also, Wardy was there, and Kale Aris, guy too. And because I did decently good job there, I improved. I got to IEM Katowice, and that's how I met everyone but Jeff, because he forgot about the passport. And yeah, I don't have any story that comes to my mind like right now, but it's always funny to be around these guys. They are hilarious, even more.
So Zombie Grove hasn't pushed any ladders that you were on or anything like that? That she hasn't kicked your shin? You can tell it's not a safe place.
No.
Nope?
I'm not sure we've met.
Just Robbie then?
Nah, I'm not sure.
For me personally, yeah, I don't know that I've met Indy in person per se, but
I think in 2015 I was at the summit. Yeah,
that's right. I remember that clear as day now.
Yeah,
No, but
this was
he's just a
first
super
time, I think.
passionate StarCraft person. I watch his stream. He's been around for a while. It's just kind of one of those synonymous names. Really nice, hardworking European guy. So no story, but just
No,
when I
no.
see the name, I'm like, that's a guy that loves StarCraft. So I like him. A couple more. Indie StarCraft Markand asks, "Are you the guy that shows up with the battle axe?"
And I don't know what is this battle axe thing. Well, I mean, I know it is battle. I mean, axe designed for battle, but what exactly he means, right?
Well, it's a nice moment to share a bit of esports history with you. A Australian Terran player by the name of Iagaz, who would famously later give the finger to the camera. One time attended a WCS. Was he in America? No, it couldn't have been. It was at Australia, wasn't it? It was a WCS qualifier in Australia, I believe, but he carried around an axe that was the length of his body, which
Oh,
it's about 4.5 feet.
no, I don't have this huge battle axe, but yeah, I no, I was never in Australia, unfortunately. But I wish I was. I heard good people live there.
Ah, he's playing Zerg now, by the way. Someone in the chat corrected me, so
No,
maybe that's
no,
why we
no,
haven't
no.
heard from him in a while.
I don't like legs either.
Okay, there you go. Last question from another Australian. Matt 500 says, "In control, I made an error in my list of 5 Aussie pros and checked in with Probe, who confirmed NXZ is a solid Zerg who should have been included. Are you shoe-eating confident that in a China versus Australia show match, China would win?" Great question. I would never wager that I'll eat a shoe unless we enter into the world that No Regret has taken us, where you can say anything and not actually mean it. And if that's the case, then sure, I wager shoe eating, which doesn't have to happen. I think China would win. Do you guys actually think China would lose to Australia? Does anyone here think that?
I think some of the top Chinese players would win their games, but I think like if you took like top 5 or something,
5v5. Let's say that. 5v5.
5v5. I think that it would be close, but I think Australia would win actually.
Wow. Do you agree, Zombie Room?
I don't know, but I think it would be close enough to give them equal spots in WCS.
I think a lot of depends on which server they would play.
Why can't they?
Singapore.
Why don't they? Is Australia to Korea bad? Is that a bad connection? Is it better for them to play on NA?
I think so.
It's not great.
And
Okay.
nothing's great for them, so I don't know.
Yeah.
It's too bad. I don't really know where Australia is. I think it's just below South Africa. It's like what I might actually be a part of Africa. NA is much better. Oh my god, that's weird. All right, so I guess you would play on the NA server then. Yeah, China's fine to like California, I think, right? So they'd all play in US West.
Fine is relative. It's
Yeah.
not great, but it's manageable from what I
Okay.
hear.
Yeah, also where in China?
China's a small place, right?
All right. Well, that's going to do it for the questions for now, guys. Thank you so much for submitting those. As per usual, appreciate everyone participating. Thank you to our guests for being good sports about it. But I think we're going to wrap up episode 35 there. And with that, we're going to go around and thank everybody. And I'd really like it if you guys would talk about what's coming up for you and what you're streaming, what's going on. First, Indie StarCraft, thanks so much for coming on, staying up super late and being a really great sport about it. Really appreciate that. We appreciate all the stuff you do for StarCraft. What are you up to? What do you got coming up?
I'm gonna if for some unknown reason you speak Polish, you can find my channel obviously on Twitch, Twitter, Indie StarCraft, YouTube, etc. But if you don't speak Polish for some weird reason, you can always come to my chat and speak English to me, and I will gladly answer your question. Like, I don't know, for example, how to deal with this or that with your race, and the more specific I can help you easily. So even if you won't find a warm place, you can always come to and ask for a tip.
Very cool. And I will give a shout out to our Patreon supporters at the end. I'm doing this a little bit mismatched order. I apologize, but let's keep going with thanking our guests here. Ravi, you're jet setting around. You're working on a lot of projects, so many that I can't even keep track of all. What do you got? What do you got cooking? What are you up to? What are you doing?
Yeah, so I have Ladder Heroes coming up this weekend, as well as the NA Apprentice Finals. Already talked about that during the This Week in StarCraft. Just Pure Dragon 64. I'm probably not going to be streaming that much because, you know, just for fun. As you mentioned, I'm gonna be taking a trip for 3 weeks to Burbank. You know, just gonna hang out there.
Yeah.
You know, Have a good
It's
time.
beautiful down there. Why not?
Yeah, it's exactly. There's a lot to do there. But yeah, if you guys want to check me out, you can enjoy my dog, of course, as
Yeah, your
well
dog
as
hasn't.
my many running track medals, which
Okay.
don't be mistaken, these are not Noni's by
How
any
are you
means.
in Rotterdam's bedroom right now? That's so weird.
This is actually Noni's bedroom.
Oh my god.
And then, of course, also, if you have an interest in Warhammer, I have a great selection of things here. So
The
yeah.
dog picture room? That's not someone's bedroom, is it? Do you have 3 bedrooms here?
This is my old manager's room.
Robbie, I don't care what people say. That's not creepy at all. The fact that you have this is fine.
It's because at work, I sometimes will put up my green screen and mess with people.
Very good. Well, make sure and follow these guys on Twitter, FearDragon64. Zombie Grub, you've been doing a lot of casting of some of these tournaments and all kinds of stuff going on. Tell us about it. What's going on?
Well, qualifiers are done. It was a lot of work, so I'm just going back to regular streaming. So tomorrow is start of more ladder and stuff. Saturday's the Banshee tournament, which is going to happen every 2 weeks. I will be temporarily moving to California for some unknown reason.
Yeah, why not?
For a little while, and that I won't change my stream hours that much, but yeah, look forward to that. That's kind of it, actually.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Before we give shout out to the Patreons, I'll just really quickly say thank you to the people that make this show possible. We've got awesome artwork and artists and Body Pop. We've got an amazing producer in Cobra Venom. Alisaunder puts together the extensive show notes, and then there are other people I'm forgetting, and I apologize, but there are more people. The Pylon Show is huge. And also, of course, a huge shout out to Artosis that is not here and hasn't been here last week. I saw someone ask if he quit the show. Just as a general reminder, if any of us miss 2 episodes, know that they've been fired for life, and we'll never have them back on any of the content we ever do. But there's a strong chance we'll rehire Artosis in the next week or 2 because we just can't get enough of him at all. And he's a lovely, lovely person. For me personally, I'm going to be streaming Battlefleet Gothic Armada for a lot of tomorrow, too. It's coming out tomorrow. It's a really fun game. Otherwise, I'm going to be streaming Starcraft. I might even do some of that tonight. I'm on this beautiful, awesome rig that Cobra Venom set up. And the production quality is hopefully going to continue to increase. We definitely took a lot of your feedback on stuff. Feel free to put that on our Discord if someone's mic was quiet or mine was too loud, whatever. Just keep it nice, keep it polite. Cobra's worked himself to the bone, so he's continuing to do that kind of stuff, and we can't do it without you guys' support, so thank you so much. Last but not least, let's give a shout out to the people that make this show financially possible, and thank you guys so much for our Patreon support. And here it is. So that top tier, you guys are amazing, but every tier counts. Just know that. Has your mother ever said that? Your father? Every tier counts. They might have spelled it T-E-A-R. We're talking about Patreon tiers, T-I-E-R here. Thank you for your money. You guys are amazing. If any of you want to join these elite group of people that make this content possible, please do consider it. That's it. We'll return with episode 36 next week, and hopefully we'll have the Vagabond Artosis joining us. I also do want to say a reminder, the VOD will be on a 24-hour timer because Cobra Venom, as it turns out, is a human being and needs to eat food. Because, Matt, have you eaten today?
Not yet.
Son of a bitch. He has not eaten today. That's just the kind of ship I run, I guess. Anyways, you guys have a great night. Thank you so much. Indy, get some sleep. Everyone, goodbye. Love you guys.
Bye-bye.